Chapter 171. At Tianlu Academy, Chu Liwei started processing the herbs while Zhuorong and the other teachers watched. She first took out a palm-sized white shell and carefully rubbed it on a grindstone. After a while, fine white powder fell off. The material was thick, and it was very troublesome to grind it. Chu Liwei rubbed it for about 15 minutes, but there was still more than half of it left. Xianxia, who was at the side, tried to hold it in. In the end, when he saw how clumsy Chu Liwei was, he finally spoke up. Chu Liwei, do you know that this isn't how you handle the white elephant shell? Chu Liwei looked up in shock. Really? But didn't the book say that the white elephant shell needs to be ground into powder for it to be fully effective? Xianxia rubbed his glabella. That's right, but based on your current speed, how long will it take for you to completely grind this white elephant shell into powder? Moreover, this is only the first one. There's another one in the box. Have you calculated how much time you'll need? Chu Liwei seemed to be in a predicament as she humbly asked for advice. Then what do you think we should do? Xianxia shook his head in disappointment and said to Zhuorong, Look at her. Look at her. She's so clumsy. Where's the slightest bit of intelligence? She can't even handle one white elephant shell, let alone all the other herbs. I think we don't have to stay here and watch. Her method is most likely unreliable. As for Liao Zhongshu's injury, I'll go back and think of a way myself. Then, Xianxia ignored Zhuorong's protests and stood up to leave. The remaining teachers looked at each other awkwardly. Zhuorong, Xianxia's words make sense. Chu Liwei had already said that she didn't come up with the prescription on her own. Instead, she accidentally got it from someone else. Besides, she didn't remember it very clearly, and most of it was just guessing. It's really hard to say if it's effective. I heard that she barely passed the entrance exam. I think she really doesn't have much talent. Zhuorong, you're probably thinking too much this time. I'd better go back and think of a way with Xianxia. Everyone, I'll take my leave first. Wait for me. I still have some matters to attend to. Xianxia left with two teachers, leaving only Zhuorong and another teacher. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Chu Liwei asked apologetically, Mr. Zhuorong, did I do something wrong? Zhuorong coughed. It's nothing. They just have their own things to do. You don't have to worry about them. Just focus on refining medicine. Chu Liwei wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he didn't say anything and continued polishing the white elephant shell. After a while, she finally grinded it into powder. She wiped her sweat and took out a second white elephant shell to start polishing. Finally, the other teacher could not stand it any longer and left after apologizing to Zhuorong. Zhuorong looked at Chu Liwei in confusion. Could it be that he was wrong? Chu Liwei's talent was actually not as outstanding as he had expected? But if that was the case, how did she directly resolve the difficulties Cui Yao and Cui Yao had placed her in? Zhuorong stared at Chu Liwei and pondered for a long time. A vague idea appeared in his mind. Could it be that Chu Liwei was deliberately hiding her talent? Many people dreamed of having the talent of a celestial physician. With such potential, anyone would be eager to show it to others. Only Chu Liwei was a little strange. Zhuorong thought for a while. He didn't want to deliberately expose it, so he found an excuse and left. In the end, only Chu Liwei was left in the room. She exhaled softly. She didn't want these people to notice anything, so she deliberately pretended that she was not good at anything. It didn't matter if she was despised by them. The most important thing was to refine the medicine well. Zhuorong seemed to have noticed something, but he didn't pursue the matter. Chu Liwei closed the door and windows properly before focusing her attention on the pile of herbs. Now, there wasn't much time left. Senhu asked around in the school and confirmed that Gu Mingfeng hadn't come to school for the past 2 days. He specially asked a teacher for leave and went out to look for Gu Mingfeng. Of course, he wouldn't be able to find him so quickly by himself. Fortunately, Senhu had a group of friends in the imperial capital. As long as he shouted, someone would immediately help him. After running around for half a day, he finally found Gu Mingfeng in a dilapidated house in the evening. But when he saw Gu Mingfeng, Senhu was shocked. His face and body were covered in injuries. What happened to you? Who hit you? Sin Hu was furious. We'll take revenge for you. Gu Mingfeng dodged as if he didn't want others to see him in such a sorry state. However, when he heard Sin Hu's words, he paused. In the end, he calmly revealed his injury. The corners of his mouth twitched. Thank you. But you're not his match, so forget it. Sin Hu glared at him. What do you mean forget it? Even if I'm not his match, there's still Lu Yu and Hong Yu. They asked me to look for you. If they see you like this, they won't let it go so easily. Gu Mingfeng's heart skipped a beat. They asked you to come? You should know that Lu Yu is back safely. We plan to celebrate at Phoenix Restaurant today, but you and Zhongshu can't go. Lu Yu and Hong Yu went to look after Zhongshu, and they asked me to come out and find you. Gu Mingfeng's throat seemed to be blocked by something. It took him a while to find his voice. It's the Gu family. Sin Hu's voice suddenly rose. The Gu family? Why did they do this to you? Didn't you already? Gu Mingfeng didn't say anything. Because he was chased out of the Gu family, many people came to find trouble with him. Over the years, many people in the Gu family didn't like him. If they could make him suffer now, it would be a great achievement for Gu Yunfei. Who wouldn't do it? He wanted to return to school after his injuries recovered, but he didn't expect Sin Hu to come looking for him. Sin Hu patted him on the shoulder and said seriously, Don't worry. Don't worry, we are friends who have gone through life and death together. We definitely won't ignore you. Let's go back first. Lu Yu and Hong Yu are still waiting for us. Gu Mingfeng didn't know what he was feeling. After hesitating for a long time, he finally nodded. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 172. After Zhuo Rong and the rest left, Chu Liyue's actions became much faster. She stretched out her hand and with a thought, a red flame suddenly appeared in her fair palm. That small cluster of flame was as agile as a spirit. Although it was weak, it was filled with vitality. Chu Liyue's eyes widened slightly. This was the first time she summoned her own force after officially becoming a rank 1 warrior. If it was a normal rank 1 warrior, it would be impossible to draw the force out of their body at this stage. Only those who had broken through to rank 4 could do it. But a celestial physician was different. A celestial physician used force to refine medicine. Chu Liyue was only a rank 1 warrior now, so the force she could summon was just a small cluster. Although it was not enough to refine medicine, it was much better than using the big pot to refine medicine. Chu Liyue found a square cauldron for refining medicine and placed her hand on the cauldron's handle, injecting the flame into it. This square cauldron for refining medicine was given by Second Master Yen. When Chu Liyue was checking the gift, she took a fancy to it and thought that she was lacking one, so she brought it to the academy. What? That small spark fell into the square cauldron and instantly burned fiercely. Chu Liyue's eyes lit up. This square cauldron was really good stuff. Previously, she only felt that the material of this square cauldron was good, but she didn't expect the effect to be so unexpected. Using this square cauldron to refine medicine could save her a lot of energy. With such a convenient thing, Chu Liyue heaved a sigh of relief and prepared to put the herbs in one by one. When the second white elephant shell fell into it, it was immediately engulfed by the red flame. In a blink of an eye, it turned into a handful of powder. Chu Liyue was stunned for a moment. A celestial physician used force to refine medicine and her speed was naturally incomparable to ordinary people, but wasn't this too fast? Did her force have such a strong effect on herbs? Chu Liyue suddenly realized something. She pursed her lips and tried to put in the second herb. It was 100-year-old heaven-guard ginseng. It was as long as a person's forearm, and several vines were tightly wrapped around it. It was cold to the touch and its texture was hard. The most useful part of this heaven-guard ginseng was the vine in the middle. However, if one wanted to fully utilize its medicinal properties, they would have to squeeze out its juice, which would take a lot of effort. Chu Liyue carefully controlled the flame, and the tongue of the flame gently licked the heaven-guard ginseng. The tendrils on the outside quickly withered, and a drop of yellowish-brown medicinal juice appeared in the square cauldron. Chu Liyue stared blankly, not daring to believe it for a moment. This This refining speed was almost comparable to a third-grade celestial physician. Generally speaking, the stronger a celestial physician was, the faster the efficiency of refining medicine would be. She was prepared to fight a long battle, but she never thought that her speed would be so fast. Most importantly, the concoction that was refined was extremely clear and clean, extremely pure. In this way, it would save her a lot of effort and the effect of the medicine would be even better. Chu Luiyue stared at it for a while, still feeling a little incredulous. In her previous life, she had a rare Tianjing Yuan meridian. Whether it was as a martial artist, a Xian master, or a celestial physician, she had all the advantages. The force nourished by the Tianjing Yuan meridian was naturally incomparable to ordinary people in terms of refining medicine. But now, she clearly only had a Daijing Yuan meridian, and it was not much worse than her previous Tianjing Yuan meridian. There was definitely a problem. Chu Luiyue had seen a celestial physician with a Daijing Yuan meridian before. Even if they had cultivated for many years, they were naturally limited by force and could not catch up to the Tianjing Yuan meridian. But now, Chu Luiyue almost wanted to check again if she had a Daijing Yuan meridian. She took a deep breath and calmed herself down. It was impossible for her to remember something like this wrongly. This body, after reconstructing the Yuan meridian, was indeed a Daijing Yuan meridian. But the force nourished by this Yuan meridian was indeed comparable to the Tianjing Yuan meridian. Chu Luiyue's heart beat wildly. Her Yuan meridian would perhaps become her greatest reliance. Chu Luiyue closed her eyes and suppressed the surging emotions in her heart. When she opened her eyes again, the shock and suspicion in her eyes had all faded away, and she had regained her usual calmness. But no one knew what kind of storm the surging undercurrent under the calmness would stir up in the future. Chu Luiyue began to methodically put in the remaining medicinal herbs. Time passed by slowly. When night fell, the various medicinal herbs that had been piled up like a small mountain in the room had all been processed by Chu Luiyue. Flames burned in the square cauldron, and the various medicinal herbs merged into a ball of dark green liquid that quietly floated in the air. A strong medicinal fragrance permeated the air. "Luyu, I'm back." Mu Hongyu's voice came from outside the door. Chu Luiyue poured another ball of flames into the square cauldron before walking over to open the door. "Luyu, your guess is so accurate. That Ji Yurong actually. What's that smell? It's so fragrant." Mu Hongyu's face was filled with excitement, but before she could finish her sentence, her attention was attracted by the medicinal fragrance. She looked over and saw that there was a square cauldron in the middle of the room, and there was a red flame burning in it. Her eyes widened in shock. "Damn! Luyu, you're actually refining medicine?" Chu Luiyue didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he pulled her into the room, closed the door, and said, "Didn't I tell you that I was going to Heaven Medicine Pavilion? You didn't say that you could actually refine medicine like this." Mu Hongyu walked over in amazement. "Such a fierce flame. Didn't you say that you were only a stage 1 warrior? How did you have such an abundant amount of force to refine medicine?" Although she wasn't a celestial physician, she knew that celestial physicians would use force to transform into flames when refining medicine. She knew that she didn't have this ability, so she couldn't be a celestial physician. However, Chu Luiyue, this wasn't something that a stage 1 warrior could do. Seeing Mu Hongyu like this, Chu Luiyue could only secretly rejoice that she came back late and didn't see the medicinal herbs piled up in the room. Otherwise, she would probably tear the roof off the house. "Didn't you say that you found something just now? How's that Jiurong?" Chu Luiyue changed the topic without batting an eyelid. Mu Hongyu then returned to her senses and hurriedly said, "Yes, yes, yes. Let me tell you, that Jiurong is indeed problematic. I originally planned to follow him today to see if there was anything strange about him, but he was very cautious. He cultivated diligently the whole day and didn't do anything out of the ordinary. After that, I asked some people in the academy who were closer to him, and guess what? He likes Chu Xianmin." Hearing this name, Chu Luiyue raised her eyebrows. "Although he never told anyone, I heard that he had a hangover on the day Chu Xianmin married the crown prince." This Ji Yurong is usually an especially honest and introverted person and has always been well behaved. Why did he do such a thing on that day? Chu Luiwei glanced at the medicine in the square cauldron and asked, "What's the relationship between the two of them?" "This? I find this very strange too. There's almost no interaction between the two of them. You know that Chu Xianmin and I don't like each other, but I've never seen Ji Yurong speak up for her. If I didn't find out about his hangover, I really wouldn't have known that he was interested in Chu Xianmin." Chapter 173. In the past, Chu Xianmin was pretty, had a noble background, and was talented. She was the most famous lady in the imperial city. It was not surprising that Ji Yurong liked her. However, whether this incident had anything to do with Chu Xianmin still needed to be investigated. Don't act rashly. Let's secretly investigate Chu Xianmin first. Mu Hongyu threw herself into a chair at the side and rested her chin on one hand. "Sigh, this is a little difficult. You know that Chu Xianmin doesn't live in the academy now. After she married into the Crown Prince mansion, she went back every day. Under such circumstances, it will take a lot of effort to investigate her." The Crown Prince mansion was heavily guarded. Even if she had the ability, she would not be able to barge in. Chu Luiwei thought for a while. "There's no hurry. Many people know that I went to the Heavenly Pharmacy to get medicine today. In addition, Mr. Rong and the rest came here this afternoon. News will definitely spread. The person who poisoned me must be paying attention to the Academy's movements. He definitely knows about this. I was wondering." Mu Hongyu clapped her hands and said excitedly, "When I came back today, I heard that you were back. When I came back today, I heard a lot of people talking about you. They even mentioned Zhuarong Laosher. So, you did it on purpose. Are you trying to lure the snake out of its hole?" A dark light flashed across Chu Luiwei's eyes. "The enemy is in the dark, and we are in the light. The disparity is huge. Since this is the case, why don't we take the initiative to attack? If the other party knows about this, they will definitely not sit back and do nothing. As long as they make a move, we will be able to find the culprit." Mu Hongyu looked at Chu Luiwei from head to toe in surprise. "Tisk, Luiwei, it's no wonder you can teach those people from the Chu family a lesson. You're such an old schemer. Whoever goes up against you is really unlucky." Chu Luiwei's eyes twitched. "Mu Hongyu, do you know how to talk? I won't attack unless I'm attacked." She would not take the initiative to provoke anyone, but if anyone wanted to bully her, she would not be polite. Mu Hongyu nodded frantically in agreement, but then curled her lips. Let me tell you. That Chu Xianmin is very difficult to deal with. Although you've already taught her a lesson last time, she hasn't been obedient for long and she's already causing trouble again. You don't know this, but when everyone thought that you were doing something, Chu Xianmin actually ran to the teacher and told him that she wanted to replace your status as the top warrior and visit the Tianling dynasty's envoy. Previously, she had been immersed in grief, so she didn't know what had happened in the academy. Today, she went out to ask around and found out. However, Chu Luiwei wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed. Mu Hongyu asked in disbelief. "You're not angry? That's the kind of person she is. I'd be surprised if she didn't do that." Chu Xianmin's current situation was so difficult. Of course, she had to think of a way to stand out. Even if this path didn't work, she would find another way. Mu Hongyu suddenly thought of something. She clasped her hands together and looked at Chu Luiwei pleadingly. "That's true. Lu Yu, when you meet the Tianling dynasty's envoy, can you do me a favor?" "What's the matter?" Mu Hongyu's face was tainted with a tinge of worry. "My father sent a letter a few days ago saying that my mother's health hasn't been good recently. He heard that the Tianling dynasty's envoy is coming, so he wants me to beg them to see if they have a way to cure my mother. But where would I get the chance now? So, can you please?" Chu Luiwei paused in his actions. "You seem to admire the Tianling dynasty a lot, right? They're just an envoy. Don't you think it's a little unrealistic to pin all your hopes on them?" Mu Hongyu widened her eyes. "Lu Yu, that's the Tianling dynasty. It's a legendary existence. If even they can't do anything, then we can't do anything. Sigh, Do you know the Tianling dynasty's heavenly princess? Chu Luiwei suddenly felt a little awkward. Seeing her expression, Mu Hongyu thought that she had never heard of her before, so she kindly added, "Sigh, actually, it's normal that you don't know. The Tianling dynasty has always been very mysterious. I've only heard a little about it from my father. Their heavenly princess is rumored to have a Tianjing Yuan meridian. She was born to be a top genius. Moreover, she was already a 5th-grade celestial physician when she was 10 years old. You have to know that there have only been a handful of celestial physicians in country Yaochen for so many years. And those who have reached 5th grade are even rarer. Think about it, she's so amazing." Chu Liwei coughed and touched her nose. "Sigh, we can't be envious of this kind of person, but there's no need to be envious. That heavenly princess was good at everything, but in the end, didn't she die from qi deviation? At that time, she wasn't even 20 years old." Mu Hongyu sighed. Chu Luiwei was suddenly stunned. Qi deviation? Qi deviation? She suppressed the surging emotions in her heart and asked, "Logically speaking, such a genius cultivation path should have been very smooth. Qi deviation?" Mu Hongyu shrugged. "How can this be confirmed? Anyway, that's what the rumors say. Otherwise, why would she die so suddenly? I heard that her fiancé was heartbroken." Chu Liu's heart suddenly thumped violently. Her mind was blank. She only stiffened and asked, "That's what the rumors say?" "Yes. But I don't know anything more than that. Who knows what happened thousands of miles away?" "Sigh, Luyu, you don't look too good. What's wrong?" Chu Liwei came back to her senses and shook her head. "I'm fine. It's just that I've been refining medicine for too long and I'm a little tired." Mu Hongyu was a little worried. "Then can you still hold on? I'll stay here with you." Chu Liwei shook her head. "No need. Go back and rest today. You have to continue investigating Ji Yurong tomorrow." Then, Mu Hongyu was also exhausted from running around all day. After hearing Chu Liyue's words, she got up and left. When her figure disappeared outside the door, Chu Liyue finally slowly let go of her hand. Because she used too much strength, her palm was already stained with blood. Just now, she almost couldn't control the crazy burning anger in her heart. Dying from qi deviation? Heartbroken? Those people are really capable of doing anything. She will pay them back 100 times. Digression. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 174. Night, Prince Li's mansion, study room. Rong Xiu stood in front of the bookshelf with his hands behind his back. He was carefully selecting books. "Move all the books on the top 2 floors. Also, bring along the few biographies that this prince often reads." Yu-Mo responded and carefully put away the books one by one. Yan Qing looked at his master hesitantly. "Master, are you really going to stay at Tianlu Academy?" Rong Xiu glanced at him. "But, is there a problem?" "I don't dare. It's just that, there are too many people at Tianlu Academy. I'm afraid it won't be as convenient as before." Yan Qing did not expect his master to decide to go to Tianlu Academy after going to the palace. He was really caught off guard. Yu-Mo secretly gave him a look. "Are you stupid? Others might not know why Master is going to Tianlu Academy, but you should know better." Yan Qing felt a headache coming on. Ever since his master came back from Wanling Mountain a few days ago covered in blood and sat in the study room for an entire night, he knew his master would take action. However, he did not expect his master to take such drastic measures. Yu-Mo shook his head. How could they stop their master from doing anything he wanted? Yan Qing sighed heavily in his heart. "What do you want to say?" "Just say it," Rong Xiu suddenly said. Yan Qing knew he could not hide his thoughts from his master, so he spoke bluntly. "Master, if you're worried about Miss Luyu, you can send more people to protect her secretly. Why do you have to do it yourself? The crown prince is under house arrest now, and the third prince is still in the imperial capital and has not returned to the Northwest Army. This is a critical time. It's really dangerous for you to suddenly make such a big move." Rong Xiu looked at him quietly. "Anything else?" Yan Qing hesitated and shook his head. He was mainly worried about his master's safety. Although he knew his master was powerful, it was not his master's style to put himself in danger. Since you're done, help UMO pack. Mistress. Yan Qing still wanted to fight for it, but when she saw Rong Xiu's expression, she knew it was useless to say anything, so she had to agree. Yes. Rong Xiu knocked on the table. She went to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion today? Why is there no movement from Yengu? UMO hurriedly said, Master, Yengu said that he did not receive any news from Miss Lu Yu. Thinking about it, it must be Miss Lu Yu who went to the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Rong Xiu replied with a faint Do you know what she wants those herbs for? The two of them looked at each other. I'm not too sure. Rong Xiu raised his eyebrows slightly. Previously, the Precious Treasure Pavilion had sent many gifts, which included many precious medicinal herbs. Chu Luyue knew that if she wanted it, it would be more convenient for her to go to Zhenbao. But she had purposely gone to the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. You really don't know? Yumo coughed. As expected, he could not hide it from his master. But this matter, he gritted his teeth and braced himself to say, I heard that Miss Lu Yu went to the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion to help a classmate recuperate. Rong Xiu leaned against the chair and crossed his fingers. His posture was lazy, but there was an indescribable sense of oppression. What kind of classmate? Umo closed his eyes and faced death calmly. His name is Liao Zhongshu. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire room fell silent. Rong Xiu's thin lips curved slightly. So it's a male classmate. The next morning, Chu Liwei finally finished brewing the medicine. She placed it in a sealed jade box and planned to send it to Liao Zhongshu. But just as she reached the door, she saw Mu Hongyu running over excitedly. Lu, big news. Chu Liwei could not help but laugh. What kind of big news can make you so excited? Could it be that you have found some evidence? Mu Hongyu's face fell. No, it's not that easy. But she quickly cheered up again, and her eyes lit up. Did you know? Prince Li came to Tianlu Academy today. Chu Liuyue's heart skipped a beat. Why is he here? Did he pass the exam and get in? Mu Hongyu did not notice that Chu Liyue sounded familiar when she mentioned Prince Li. She thought that Chu Liyue was just curious, so she chuckled. How is that possible? Prince Li is weak and sickly. Why would he take the exam? I heard that he came here to pay respects to his mother, Consort Wan. Consort Wan was a teacher at Tianlu Academy for a period of time, and she was not buried in the Imperial Mausoleum. That's why Prince Li came here. Chu Liyue was a little surprised. Is this inappropriate? What's inappropriate about it? The Dean and His Majesty must have agreed to this. That's why Prince Li came. You don't know, but Consort Wan only doted on the Imperial harem back then. Now that Prince Li wants to remember her, His Majesty naturally agreed. The Dean and Consort Wan seemed to have a good relationship back then. At this moment, Old Sun had already brought Prince Li into the academy. If not for the fact that we don't dare to openly join in the fun, we would have gone to take a look. Chu Liyue's eyebrows twitched. What's there to see? How is it not nice? It's rumored in the Imperial City that Prince Li was born with first-class looks. Who knew how many women wanted to take a look at it? Hey, Lu Yu, I remember that you and Prince Li both went to the Crown Prince's birthday banquet. You should have seen him, right? Quick, tell me. Is he as gentle as jade and unparalleled in the world as the rumors say? Chu Liyue suddenly had the urge to facepalm. However, a devilish face appeared in her mind. She coughed. Just like that, Mu Hongyu was not satisfied with this answer. She clicked her tongue. I heard that Prince Li stepped forward to help you that day when Fourth Princess made things difficult for you. Don't tell me, you didn't have any thoughts? Chu Liyue immediately said, How is that possible? Before she finished speaking, she saw a familiar tall figure out of the corner of her eye. Her words were suddenly stuck in her throat. Mu Hongyu asked curiously, Really? Of course it's true. Suddenly, a low and cold voice came from behind her. The tone was gentle, but there was a hint of laziness in it, like the spring water disturbed by the wind. After all, In Miss Lu Yu's eyes, I'm just like that. Isn't that right, Ms. Lu Yue? Chapter 175. That person was dressed in a white robe that was spotless. His facial features were meticulously sculpted by the heavens. His eyes, in particular, were as deep and quiet as the starry night. They were pure and clean, but they also carried a hint of mystery. His thin, scarlet lips curled up slightly. His originally gentle, noble, and calm temperament had an additional hint of flirtatiousness. His gaze landed on Chu Luiyue, and his lips curled into a casual smile. Mu Hongyu was stunned for a moment before she finally reacted. Her eyes widened. Prince Li? Rong Xiu nodded slightly. Princess Yongping. Ever since Mu Hongyu came to the imperial capital and entered Tianlu Academy, she had been very low-key and rarely mentioned her identity. She had not heard the title, Princess Yongping, in a long time. Now that Rong Xiu mentioned it, she could not help but be stunned again. You know me? Rong Xiu smiled faintly. I've heard Miss Lu Yu mention you before. Now that I've met you, Princess Yongping, you are indeed straightforward and generous. You have the style of the Prince of Pingjiang. Mu Hongyu's mood instantly improved upon hearing this. She admired her father the most. When others praised him, she was even happier than when others praised her. She asked curiously, Prince Li has met my father before? Although I haven't had the chance to meet him, I've long heard of his great name. Mu Hongyu thought about it and agreed. Prince Li's health had been poor since he was young. He was sent to Mingyue Tianshan to recuperate. He had not even returned to the imperial capital a few times. How could he have gone so far to meet her father? However, it seemed like he had good taste. Mu Hongyu happily pulled Chu Liyue's sleeve and said softly, Lu Yu, your standards have also improved, right? I think Prince Li is quite good. Chu Liyue looked at her speechlessly. He really did not know when Mu Hongyu's brainless personality would change. She was bought over with just one sentence. In the future, she might even help others count the money when she was sold. Hey, he said you mentioned me in front of him. Are you close to him? Mu Hongyu suddenly thought of something and looked at Chu Liyue with a subtle gaze. You just said, His Highness has helped me a few times before. When I went to thank him, His Highness asked a few more questions about the academy, so I mentioned you. Chu Liyue said with a straight face. Who doesn't know how to lie? Since he deliberately exposed her, she didn't need to be polite. Mu Hongyu suddenly understood. No wonder. He must have wanted to come to the academy at that time. That's why he asked you those questions, right? The corners of Chu Liyue's eyes twitched. Rong Xiu calmly looked at the jade box in Chu Liyue's hand. Looks like you're busy. I won't disturb you any longer. Chu Liyue curtsied. Take care, Your Highness. Rong Xiu quietly glanced at her, then turned and left with Elder Sunday. Mu Hongyu couldn't help but rub her arms. Lu Yu, why do I suddenly feel a little cold? Chu Liyue coughed. Let's go. The medicine will turn cold if we stay any longer. The two quickly arrived at Liao Zhongshu's residence. Mu Hongyu stepped forward and was just about to knock when the door opened. Ji Yurong was standing inside. He had his usual gentle and harmless smile on his face. Zhongshu said that you would come today, so I've been waiting for you. Come in. Chu Liyue sized him up. Compared to the day before, he looked much more natural, as if there was nothing wrong with him. But this only proved that there was something wrong with him. Yesterday, Mu Hongyu secretly investigated him and didn't completely seal off the news. If he asked around, he would definitely find out. But today, he didn't seem to be acting strangely. He was clearly trying to hide something. Mu Hongyu said with a faint smile. Oh, isn't this embarrassing? It must have been hard on you to take care of him these few days, right? We're just here to see him. Just go about your business. Ji Yurong's expression froze for a moment, but it quickly returned to normal. We're all friends and we live together. This is what I should do. Then, you can go up first. I'll make tea for you later. I didn't manage to serve you well when you came yesterday. You're so free today? Mu Hongyu crossed her arms. I remember that you originally had classes today, right? A hint of panic flashed across Ji Yurong's eyes. Oh, I took leave today. I used up my cultivation time in Jiyo Tower, and I was planning to do some missions today. Mu Hongyu didn't comment. This is important. We won't hold you up. She was clearly asking him to leave. Ji Yurong was a little hesitant. Actually, it's not that urgent. I'm afraid that Zhongshu will. The two of us are here. Are you worried that we won't be able to take care of him? Oh no. Then I'll take my leave first. Please go ahead. Ji Yurong knew that continuing would only make things worse. He could only leave unwillingly. After his figure disappeared, Mu Hongyu pursed her lips. Can't you think of something else if you want to spy on us? Chu Luiwei didn't say anything. He turned around and went upstairs. Liao Zhongshu's complexion looked worse than the day before, and he was even more dispirited. Mu Hongyu was shocked. Did he poison you again? Liao Zhongshu shook his head with difficulty. Ever since you told me yesterday, I haven't touched the things he sent over. Chu Luiwei checked his soup bowl. It was indeed clean. The red blood goose poison is very strong. Even if you don't poison it, the poison will get worse. In the later stages, it will be defeated like a landslide. As Chu Luiwei spoke, he took out the medicine from the jade box. A strong medicinal fragrance spread out. Mu Hongyu took a deep breath and immediately felt comfortable. Chu Luiwei handed it to Liao Zhongshu. This medicine can only help you suppress the poison for now. As for the antidote, we'll think of something else. Liao Zhongshu didn't say anything. He took the medicine and drank it in one gulp. You trust us, Chu Luiwei said. A weak but sincere smile appeared on Liao Zhongshu's pale face. In my current state, who else can I trust if not you? They were friends who had gone through life and death together. Besides, this was his only choice. Rest first. Hongyu and I will go and check again. Liao Zhongshu nodded. Sorry to trouble you. I really don't know how to repay this friendship. Lu Yu, Hongyu, we're back. Before Liao Zhongshu could finish speaking, Sinhu's voice came from downstairs. Chu Luiwei let Liao Zhongshu rest alone and walked out with Mu Hongyu. When they reached the first floor, they saw Sinhu and Gu Mingfeng. Gu Mingfeng's face was injured. It looked like he had been through a lot in the past 2 days. Mu Hongyu was shocked and quickly walked forward. Mingfeng, what happened to you? Gu Mingfeng looked down. It's just a small injury. How is this a small injury? It was obvious that he had been beaten to death. Gu Mingfeng didn't say anything. He clearly didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to meet Chu Luiwei and Sinhu with such a face, but Sinhu dragged him along. Chu Luiwei only took one look before she retracted her gaze and asked in understanding. Was it done by someone from the Gu family? A better reading experience came from the Love Network. Chapter 176. Gu Mingfeng didn't say anything, but his silence was a confirmation. Why did the Gu family treat you so harshly? Mu Hongyu was shocked. No matter what, Gu Mingfeng was still a member of the Gu family. Why did they do this? Although she knew that Gu Mingfeng wasn't well liked in the Gu family and was treated very differently from Gu Mingzhu, it was too much to chase him out and treat him like this. She really didn't understand why Gu Yunfei hated Gu Mingfeng so much, even though they were both his children. Gu Mingfeng calmly said, "They just can't stand me. I'm already used to it." Chu Luiwei stared at him for a while. After confirming that there was no sadness in his eyes, she couldn't help but laugh. It's better to leave a family like this than to stay. It's a good thing to cut your losses in time. When Liao Zhongshu gets better, let's go to Phoenix Restaurant to celebrate. Gu Mingfeng didn't expect Chu Luiwei to be so straightforward, but her expression was very sincere. That's right. She cut ties with the family before me. Although Chu Luiwei cut ties with the family and I was chased out, the outcome was similar. Gu Mingfeng suddenly felt relieved, and he inexplicably felt much more relaxed. He exhaled. Sinhu asked, "Oh, right. What did you say about Zhongshu?" He had been outside for a day and night, so he didn't know what had happened in the academy. Chu Luiwei calmly scanned the surroundings. It's hard to explain in a few sentences. I'll tell you in detail when we have time. Sinhu, go back with Gu Mingfeng to recuperate first. If there's any news, Hongyu and I will immediately inform you. Sen, who didn't suspect anything and readily agreed. Gu Mingfeng frowned but didn't say anything. Look, that's where your mother lived back then. Elder Sun walked with Rong Xiu while introducing the academy. Rong Xiu followed his gaze and saw a river meandering past. At the foot of the mountain where the river flowed, there was a quiet courtyard. The place where she lives is slightly to the side where the Xian master students live. She likes peace and quiet, and the students respect and like her, so although they are very close to her, they rarely disturb her. As Elder Sun spoke, he thought of that gentle and generous woman. Oh right, you should know that your mother is a mystic cultivator. She also teaches mystic cultivators here, right? Rong Xiu nodded. Father mentioned it before. Elder Sun shook his head and sighed. Your mother is extremely talented as a mystic cultivator. If she had a few more years, it would not be impossible for her to become a top-notch mystic cultivator. Unfortunately, she passed away after staying here for 2 years. Even Rong Xiu, who was sent to Mingyue Tianshan not long after he was born, had only seen her a few times. As they spoke, the two of them arrived in front of the courtyard. Above the door hung a peachwood sign with a few small words engraved on it. Yifeng Courtyard. This signboard was personally carved by her. Elder Sun looked at Rong Xiu. No one has been here for many years. When I heard that you were coming, I originally wanted to send someone to clean it up, but after thinking about it, these are her old belongings, so I'll leave everything to you. Thank you for your understanding, Elder Sunday. It's a small matter, no need to thank me. Then, this old man will take his leave first. Take care, Elder Sunday. After Elder Sun left, Rong Xiu pushed open the door and entered. Yifeng Courtyard was not big, but everything was exquisite and elegant. One could see the taste of the people who lived here back then. The courtyard did not have flowers and plants like ordinary people. Instead, there was a peach tree with luxuriant leaves. There was a rattan chair under the peach tree, and a tea set was placed on the limestone slab next to it. Rong Xiu waved his sleeve, sweeping off the dust on the rattan chair and lying down. The rattan chair creaked as no one sat on it for a long time. Rong Xiu closed his eyes. A gentle breeze blew past, sweeping up the corners of his snow-white clothes. A few green leaves drifted down and scattered on his face and body. In particular, a small thin leaf was pressed against his thin scarlet lips. The two colors complemented each other, as beautiful as a painting. Chu Luwe saw this scene when she walked across the Shuangqing River Bridge. She and Mu Hongyu had split up and planned to come back to get something first. Before she walked back to her residence, her eyes were attracted by the scenery. Yifeng Courtyard was not very far from the bridge, so Chu Luwe could see it very clearly. She blinked. She had noticed that courtyard before. No one had ever gone there, so it was very quiet. Was that the place where Rong Xiu's mother lived when she was alive? Her eyes swept across Rong Xiu's face. Under the sunlight, his skin was like jade, even a little translucent. His eyebrows and eyes were picturesque, his nose was high, and the lines of his cheeks were smooth. There was no part of him that was not the best. Such a person was simply blessed by the heavens to be able to have such an appearance and charm. Chu Luiwei suddenly remembered her previous evaluation of him. Just like that. She suddenly felt a little guilty. If this didn't count as anything, then no one in this world was qualified to say that it was good-looking. As if sensing her gaze, Rong Xiu's eyelashes trembled. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked over. The two of them looked at each other. He seemed to have taken a nap under the tree for a while. His eyes still had a bit of laziness and confusion, but his eyes were clear and pure. Chu Luiwei seemed to have been caught red-handed doing something wrong, so she subconsciously looked away. But as soon as she turned her head, she regretted it. Didn't this make it seem like there was something wrong with her? She didn't feel anything when the two of them were together day and night. Why did she feel that something was wrong with him now? If she left now, she might be laughed at by Rong Xiu for running away. Thinking of this, Chu Luiwei gritted her teeth and looked back again. She wanted to use her eyes to kill him. What's wrong with looking? He was lying here. Anyone who passed by would be able to see him, right? There was nothing wrong with her taking a look. Suddenly, a few women's voices came from behind. Wait, that's His Highness Princely? It seems like it. Just like the rumors, his appearance and bearing are unparalleled. He seems to live there? It's not far from us. Lower your voice. Aren't you afraid of being heard? Can't you be more reserved? Even if she didn't look back to see who it wasn't hard to imagine the admiration and excitement of these people. Chu Luiyue suddenly felt a little irritable. This guy isn't lying there on purpose, is he? His Highness Prince Li doesn't mind being looked at by so many passers-by? Thinking of this, her eyes unconsciously carried some annoyance. Rong Xiu looked at her. Suddenly, his thin lips opened slightly, sucking on the thin leaf. Digression: yesterday, I couldn't sleep until 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll update 3 chapters. Not 3 chapters of the 3rd chapter, but 3 chapters of the 3rd chapter. When I say 10 chapters, I'll find a new one. Chapter 177. From Chu Luiyue's angle, she could clearly see the tip of his tongue sticking out slightly as he sucked the leaf into his mouth. His actions were so ambiguous, but his eyes were still pure and clean. It was as if he did not feel that what he was doing was so full. Chu Luiyue's face suddenly heated up. Too much. Too much. Not only did he secretly climb into her bed in the middle of the night, but he actually dared to seduce her in public now. Not only did he seduce her, but there were other people behind him. Chu Luiyue instinctively looked back and realized that the girls who had spoken earlier did not see what Rong Xiu was doing, probably because they were in a more secluded position. For some reason, she suddenly heaved a sigh of relief in her heart, but her chest still felt as if it was blocked by something. She pursed her lips and decisively looked away as she walked back to her room. Bang! The door was slammed shut. As Rong Xiu watched, the corners of his eyes suddenly turned into a smile. Was he angry? Chu Luiyue returned to her room to look for something, but the scene just now still lingered in her mind. She felt an inexplicable frustration in her heart that even she could not explain. She simply went up to the 2nd floor to calm herself down. However, as soon as she opened the window, she saw Rong Xiu again. His room was not far from hers, so she could actually see him from the 2nd floor. Chu Luiyue felt even more frustrated, so she could only close the window. Rong Xiu's arrival at Tianlu Academy was too sudden and unexpected. Previously, he had claimed to be sick and stayed in Prince Li's mansion. He did not even go out, and he had tactfully rejected all the visits from various families. Everyone in the imperial city knew that Prince Li was frail and sickly. He could not be exposed to the wind and even rarely saw people. He clearly had his own reasons for doing so. However, why did he come to the academy now? Wasn't he putting himself out in the open? Chu Luiyue faintly had a guess in her heart, but she did not dare to believe it. Rong Xiu could not be doing this for her. Her shoulders sank, and a furry thing jumped onto her. Chu Luiyue glanced at it. You're awake. The little thing stretched and nodded with a satisfied expression. Chu Luiyue could not help but laugh as she pinched its ears. You can really sleep. After returning from Wan Spirit Mountain, this little thing had fallen into a deep sleep for 2 days and nights. Chu Luiyue picked it up and checked it carefully. She was a little surprised. Have you recovered from your injuries? Although it had not been seriously injured, there were a few scars on its body. In just 2 days, the scars, the wounds, and the scars. They were not scabs, but they were completely healed. It was as if it had never been hurt. It says Liu as it's black was the black. The little thing blinked. I don't remember the Blood Marten race having such a strong recovery ability. Chu Liu's, in her previous life, she had seen some noble ladies raise blood ferrets, but they were all pets. Because they were very weak, they were usually carefully protected. But this one, since you're following me, I have to give you a name. How about Xiaocheng? The little thing instantly bared its teeth and waved its claws frantically. It still wanted to come out and make a living. Chu Luiyue looked at it and added seriously, Look, you're so resistant. This name is the most suitable, right? No. The little thing rolled its eyes and pretended to be dead. Chu Luiyue shook it. Since you don't like it, we'll change it. How about Dumpling? The little thing's legs straightened, and it closed its eyes, refusing to wake up and face this terrible world. Since you've agreed, we'll settle on this. The little thing opened its eyes instantly. Chu Luiwei pressed its head. It's too late. Dumpling shut its mouth, feeling wronged. Forget it. With such a master, what else can I hope for? Chu Luiwei looked at it, and a hint of doubt flashed in her heart. Blood ferrets were only third-grade fiends. Logically speaking, their intelligence was only equivalent to a 1-year-old child. But this one was obviously much smarter. There were a lot of mysteries about it. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door downstairs. Chu Luiwei went downstairs and opened the door in confusion. It was Si Yang, whom she had not seen for a long time. Si Yang? Why are you here? When Si Yang saw her, he hurriedly went forward and looked at her carefully. Lu Yu, are you really okay? You're too powerful. He couldn't believe it when he heard the news. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he was even more shocked. They knew how dangerous Wang Lin Mountain was at that time. Chu Luiwei actually came back alive alone. Actually, I wanted to come yesterday, but something came up at the last minute at home, so I was late. Chu Luiwei didn't mind and smiled. I'm fine. Si Yang looked at Dumpling on her shoulder and was a little surprised. Isn't this a blood ferret? When did you have this with you? I met it by chance at Wang Lin Mountain and brought it back because I liked it. What? You kept it? Lu Yu, although this blood ferret is cute, it's very weak in combat. It's quite troublesome to bring it around. Dumpling opened its eyes before Si Yang could finish his sentence. Chu Luiwei originally thought that it would explode, but she did not expect it to just glance at Si Yang coldly before closing its eyes again. It swept its tail as if it did not care about Si Yang at all. Si Yang's mouth twitched. It was looking down on me? Chu Luiwei nodded in agreement. It's very obvious. Si Yang suddenly felt a little doubtful. A mere third-grade blood ferret actually looked down on him. Chu Luiwei asked, Why did you ask me to come here today? Si Yang looked at Dumpling angrily and said, Yes. You missed class 2 days ago, so Mr. Dongfang asked me to ask you if you want to participate in the Qing Jiao competition in half a month. Qing Jiao competition? You don't know? It's the Mystic Master competition that's held every year. At that time, the neighboring nation of Huaicang and nation of Xingluo will also send their youngest geniuses to compete. This Qing Jiao competition is very grand, and the prizes have always been very generous. Do you want to participate in the Mystic Master competition? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 178. Chu Luiwei was not very interested. He was about to reject Si Yang when he thought about it and asked, What are the rewards? What are the rewards? Si Yang chuckled. That's amazing. The Qing Jiao competition is organized by the top academies in 3 countries. Other than Tianlu Academy, there's also country Huaicang's Nanfeng Academy and country Xingluo's Taiyan Academy. It's our turn to be the host this year. According to the rules, other than the usual rewards, the most important thing is that the Xian Master Champion of the Qing Jiao competition can choose one of the 3 academies to read Xian formation drawings for free for a month. Think about it, how big of a deal is this? These 3 academies were the top academies in their respective countries. Which one of them did not have a vast collection of books? To be able to read Xian formation drawings for free for a month was a huge temptation to any Xian master. Chu Luiwei was deep in thought. The rewards are indeed quite generous. Help me tell Mr. Dongfang that I'll participate in the Qing Jiao competition. That's right. Although there are still seniors above us, and it's impossible for us to get first place, you're the top Xian master in our batch. Of course, you have to show up. As Si Yang spoke, he suddenly thought of something and asked curiously, Oh, right. Since you're participating in the Xian master competition, then, are you still going to the warrior competition? Chu Luiwei could not help but laugh when he saw Si Yang's gossipy expression. Is there a difference whether I go or not? Of course. Si Yang raised his voice. If you don't go, won't Chu Xianmin stir up trouble again? I see that she's been cultivating diligently recently and is trying her best to get back at her. Chu Luo suddenly remembered Mu Hongyu mentioning that Chu Xianmin thought that she was dead and wanted to replace her as the warrior competition's champion. Can one person only participate in one competition? Of course not. If you're willing, you can sign up for 2 or 3 competitions. It's not a problem. Chu Luiwen nodded in understanding. Then I'll think about it. Aya, what are you thinking about? Don't tell me you still care about the sisterhood of the Chu family? She has already married into the Crown Prince's residence and is considered one of the Crown Prince's people. Chu Luyue's heart skipped a beat, and he fixed his gaze on him. What does this have to do with her marrying into the Crown Prince's residence? I was just saying it in passing. Cough cough. Si Yang realized that he had let the cat out of the bag, so he immediately avoided Chu Luyue's scrutinizing gaze. Chu Luyue thought to himself. Everyone knew that she had severed ties with the Chu family, and not long ago, she had exposed Lu Yao in public. Anyone could see that she had completely fallen out with the Chu family. Why would she care about the so-called sisterhood? Chu Luyue smiled faintly. Si Yang, you don't want to ask about my relationship with Chu Xianmin but my attitude toward the Crown Prince, right? Where do I have it? Si Yang did not expect Chu Luyue to guess his question right away. He immediately denied it. However, his voice was trembling, and his gaze was erratic. Anyone could tell that Si Yang was right. Chu Luyue was not angry. She was just a little curious. I have nothing to do with the Crown Prince for a long time. Why are you so curious about this? Si Yang coughed to cover it up. I was just asking, didn't you like the Crown Prince a lot in the past? The last sentence was very soft, but Chu Luyue still heard it clearly. Looking at Si Yang's expression, she suddenly realized something. My feelings for the Crown Prince don't seem to have anything to do with you, right? But my brother. Si Yang was halfway through his sentence when he suddenly realized something and hurriedly covered his mouth. Chu Luyue's expression darkened. I've already told Si Ting before that we are just classmates, and I don't want to have too much contact with him. It seems like he didn't listen. I was the one who made the decision to ask. As Si Yang spoke, he suddenly froze. Wait, you said that you've already talked about this? Most importantly, his brother had already been rejected. No wonder. No wonder when he heard that Chu Luyue was back and asked his brother to take a look, his brother's attitude was very cold. So it was because Chu Luyue narrowed her eyes. It seemed that Si Yang had indeed come on his own accord. Let's forget about this. Don't mention it again. With that, Chu Luyue was about to leave. Si Yang hurriedly went forward to stop her and asked awkwardly, Why? My brother is sincere to you. Why won't you consider it? Si Ting was handsome, came from a noble family, and was very talented. Many girls in the capital city wanted to win his favor. However, Si Ting had never been interested in any girl. Now, he had finally fallen in love with someone, but he had been rejected so bluntly? Si Yang could not understand. How is my brother not good enough for you? Chu Luyue looked calm. This is not a matter of whether he's good enough for you or not. It's a matter of whether I want you or not. Si Ting was very good, but she did not like him. Therefore, she might as well cut off the relationship from the beginning. Also, Si Ting and I have already reached an agreement. This is already in the past. You don't have to. Why is it in the past? If it is in the past, why did he risk his life to save you at Wanling Mountain that day? Si Yang finally could not help but blurt out. The surroundings suddenly quietened down. Chu Luyue frowned slightly. Si Ting also went to save her that day? I don't know about this. Si Yang turned away. He went with old Master's son that day. However, when they reached the foot of the mountain, they met Mu Hongyu and the rest first. Old Master's son then asked him to stay with them. I know that this may not have helped you, but, since he was willing to make such a choice, it proved that Si Ting was willing to risk his life for her. Chu Luyue suddenly felt that it was a little difficult. She hated owing people favors, especially this kind of thing. However, Si Ting did it to save her, so she could not say anything. I got it. I will find a chance to thank him personally later. As for the rest, forget it. When Xiang heard this, he suddenly felt uncomfortable. He made up his mind. If you don't agree now, you might regret it in the future. I won't regret it. How do you know? When it comes to relationships, Chu Liwei was a little impatient. Because I already have someone I like. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 179. Xiang was stunned. What did you say? Chu Liwei did not know why she said that, but seeing Xiang's shocked expression, she decided to go with the flow. I've already made myself very clear. Do you need me to repeat myself? No, who do you like? Xiang asked instinctively. Who could be more outstanding than Si Ting in the imperial city? Chu Liwei previously said that she liked the crown prince. How long has it been since she fell in love with someone else? You're not lying to me, are you? Who is he? Whoever he is has nothing to do with you. That's my own business. Xiang, I see you as my friends. That was true in the past and will be true in the future. However, that was all there was to it. Xiang understood what Chu Liwei meant. He did not want to believe it, but seeing her calm expression and clear eyes, he knew that she was not lying. He was conflicted for a long time and rubbed his face in frustration. Alright, I promise that from now on, I won't bother you about this matter anymore. We're still friends in the future. A faint smile then appeared on Chu Liue's lips. Alright. Xiang was still a little dejected. I'll make a move first. I'll tell teacher Dongfang about your participation in the Qing Jiao competition. With that, he turned and left. If he stayed any longer, he would really annoy her. Chu Liwei raised her voice. Thank you very much. Xiang did not turn back. He waved his hand and left quickly. Chu Liwei stood at the same spot for a while. Suddenly, she thought of something and turned around. In the distance, Rong Xiu was lying on the rattan chair. His eyes were closed and he seemed to have fallen asleep again. At this distance, he probably did not hear her, right? For some reason, Chu Liwei felt uneasy as she hurriedly retracted her gaze and left. The surroundings became quiet again. The wind blew, and a leaf landed on Rong Xiu's face. He turned his head slightly and opened his eyes. His clear and pure almond-shaped eyes were much deeper now. It was as if there was an undercurrent surging in them, making one confused for no reason. How did this look like he was asleep? He had clearly been awake the whole time. The corners of Rong Xiu's lips slowly lifted into a smile, spreading to the corners of his eyes and brows. Then, he took the leaf out of his mouth and folded it in half. A clear and melodious whistle resounded from afar. Chu Liwei, who had already walked some distance away, suddenly froze when he heard the voice coming from behind him. When Yan Qing brought the things to pack, she felt that her master seemed to be in a very good mood. As he cleaned the courtyard, he raised his head to look at his master from time to time. When the Rong Xiu plucked another leaf and put it to his lips, he finally couldn't help but say, Master, it turns out that you like to blow the peach leaf whistle so much? Rong Xiu raised his eyebrows. Is there? Yan Qing, there are so many blown peach leaves on the ground. Do you think I'm blind? Back and forth, you've been bragging for over an hour. You may not be tired, but your subordinate's ears are about to grow calluses. Yan Qing screamed in his heart, but he definitely didn't dare to say it out loud. It doesn't sound good? Yan Qing gave him a thumbs up in awe. It's a masterpiece. Rong Xiu nodded in satisfaction. Actually, it didn't matter if it sounded good or not. It was more important that someone could hear it. Your Highness, the things you brought from the residence have been packed. Do you want to see if there's anything else you need? Rong Xiu pondered for a moment. It's tea. Yan Qing. I'll go get some tea for you now. How could he not be thirsty after blowing for so long? No need. I'll go get some tea later. Yan Qing responded obediently. Then, he looked at the courtyard in the distance and silently mourned for his master for a second. Miss Luyu, you must come back soon. Chu Xianmin did not have a good time these 2 days. She originally thought that she could replace Chu Liwei as the top warrior after her death and raise her status in the Crown Prince Mansion and the Chu family. However, Chu Liwei actually came back alive. And he looked fine. Her plan was ruined, and she had to plan everything again. Her current situation was even worse than before. Looking at the letter from her father, Chu Yan, in her hand, Chu Xianmin was in a terrible fix. Mother actually instigated Madame Gu to make a scene at the academy's entrance? What was she thinking? It was fine to find trouble with Chu Luiwei, but why did she have to implicate her? If she had written an anonymous letter back then, it wouldn't have been discovered, and there wouldn't have been today's trouble. Now, the Gu family had something on her and said that they wouldn't let it go no matter what. Mrs. Gu had made such a big fool of herself and brought shame to the entire Gu family. They would definitely blame it on Lu Yao, who had written the letter. Lu Yao's life in the Chu family was already difficult, and this made it even worse. Chu Xianmin looked at the letter in her hand. The handwriting on it was messy, and it was obviously written in a hurry. Chu Yan was now seriously injured. How could he save Lu Yao? He could only pin his hopes on her. However, the crown prince knew that Chu Luiwei was still alive and had harshly reprimanded her yesterday. She couldn't even protect herself now, so how could she have the energy to do so? She tore the letter into pieces in frustration and walked out. Because she had good grades when she entered the academy, she lived alone in a small courtyard. She walked to the left wall of the courtyard and searched under the cracks of the tiles for a while. She took out something and quickly returned to the house. It was a metal cylinder thinner than her pinky. She gently twisted it, and the cylinder opened. A note fell out. She opened the note, dipped the brush beside her in water, and drew on it. A line of words appeared faintly. The matter might be exposed. You must be careful. Chu Xianmin was shocked, and the note fell to the ground. When Chu Luiwei returned, night had already fallen. The full moon hung in the sky, bright and clear. She looked around instinctively and found that Rong Xiu wasn't in the courtyard far away. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. I'm here. A low voice sounded. Chu Luiwei's heart skipped a beat. She looked up and saw Rong Xiu standing by the window on the second floor. Why are you here? Chu Luiwei blurted out. Rong Xiu looked into the distance, and his expression was a little strange. I'm thirsty, so I came to ask for tea. Chu Luiwei sneered. Your Highness, you are of noble status and have sharp eyes and ears. You don't lack a cup of tea from me. Rong Xiu finally looked at her. His eyes seemed to be filled with light, and it was captivating. The bitterness of the peach leaves can only be cured by your tea. Digression, February, Rong Xiu is such a flirtatious man. Lu Yu, that's right. Yan Qing, agreed. Rong Xiu, ? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 180. Chu Luiwei inwardly cursed him for being shameless, but her ears were burning. It was a good thing that the night was still dark, so he shouldn't be able to see clearly. She took a deep breath to calm herself down and pretended that nothing had happened as she went upstairs. Your Highness already has a place to rest in the academy, so why come to my place every day? Rong Xiu didn't answer, but smiled faintly. Your position is very good. Whatever this prince does, you only need to look at it from here and you will be able to see it clearly. Rather than that, it would be better for this prince to come here personally. Chu Luiwei paused. Your Highness, I chose this place first. If she knew that Rong Xiu would also come, and even happened to be in that seat, she wouldn't have chosen this place no matter what. She walked to the cabinet, took out a handful of fragrant ginger slices, and sprinkled them into the teacup. The hot water made the tea, and a bitter and spicy taste quickly spread. She deliberately poured a cup and handed it over. Your Highness, please. Rong Xiu glanced at it and smiled. Why is it always this ginger tea that this prince comes here every time? Chu Luiwei said seriously, I don't have any good tea here. If you want to be particular, you can drink it. If you don't want to, there's no need to force yourself. Rong Xiu's smile deepened, and he directly took the tea from her hand. The two people's hands touched for a moment. His hand was cold to the touch, and his white and slender fingers gently slid across the back of her hand, causing her to shiver slightly. Chu Luiwei looked up at him, but saw that Rong Xiu's expression was normal, as if he didn't realize that something was wrong. His skin was as thick as ever. Chu Luiyue inwardly cursed. You have a medicinal fragrance on you. Were you refining medicine all night yesterday? Rong Xiu took a sip of tea, his gaze fixed on her face, and his smile faded. Chu Luiyue slightly widened her eyes. How did your highness know? Could it be that he came yesterday? That wasn't right. She didn't remember him coming. Rong Xiu raised his chin. Chu Luiyue reached out and touched his face. Is there something on my face? Rong Xiu sighed helplessly and chuckled. A person who had always been extremely intelligent would always be muddle-headed at times like this. He took a few steps forward and stood in front of Chu Luiyue. As the tall figure approached, an inexplicable sense of oppression instantly arose. In the next moment, he stretched out his hand. Chu Luiyue was about to step back when they met each other's gaze. Under his calm and deep eyes, there seemed to be an undercurrent surging. Faintly, there was also a trace of undetectable pity. Chu Luiyue's body seemed to have been fixed in place, not moving at all. Rong Xiu's warm fingertips fell under her eyes. Under the illumination of the lights, the faint dark circles under her eyes could be clearly seen. If he hadn't endured an entire night, he definitely wouldn't have ended up like this. He's just a classmate. Is it worth it for you to do this? His voice was light and deep, and his expression was somewhat unfathomable. Chu Luiyue pursed her lips. She wasn't surprised that Rong Xiu knew that she was helping Liao Zhongshu. After all, she had intentionally leaked the news to lure the snake out of its hole. He once went through life and death with us. Naturally, I can't leave him in the lurch. Rong Xiu narrowed his eyes. There was nothing wrong with what she said, but he was still in a bad mood. If he didn't know that she had other motives, there won't be a next time. His tone was calm and unhurried, but there was no room for refusal. Chu Luiyue raised her eyebrows. Your Highness, this is my business. You don't have the right to interfere, do you? Rong Xiu's thin lips curved slightly. What if I say that I have the right to interfere? Chu Luiyue snorted. Your Highness, it's true that you have a noble status, but why should I listen to you? Rong Xiu's hand slid down her cheek, cupped her face, and suddenly moved closer. Chu Luiyue looked at the enchanting face that was quickly approaching her, and her heart suddenly skipped a beat. She wanted to retreat, but the hands in her sleeves clenched and loosened. In the end, she didn't move. She didn't know when it started, but she seemed to have gradually gotten used to Rong Xiu's occasional intimate actions. It seemed everything was natural. He looked at her with a deep gaze, as if there was an inexplicable suction that wanted to devour everything. Then, he tilted his head slightly and leaned close to her ear, chuckling in a low voice. Because this prince is very familiar with the person you like. His lips gently rubbed against her delicate earlobe, and it was like a spark that started a prairie fire. However, what he said was more like a sudden clap of thunder that suddenly exploded in Chu Luiyue's heart. He really heard it. Moreover, he could hear it clearly. If Chu Luiyue could pretend that she didn't know that he heard it before, then now, she couldn't pretend anymore. Her heart was beating like a drum, and it seemed like flames were spreading from her ears, making her entire body hot. She quickly reached out and pushed him away. Your Highness, you heard wrong. I didn't say that person was you. Did this prince say that person was me? Rong Xiu's indifferent question made Chu Luiyue's argument come to an abrupt end. Her hands were pressed against his broad and firm chest, and she didn't know whether to advance or retreat. This was the situation where 300 taels of silver were exposed. Rong Xiu lowered his eyes, admiring the young girl's embarrassed expression with satisfaction for a while. He only felt comfortable all over. His arms suddenly wrapped around her waist, and then he lifted her up horizontally. Your Highness? Sure. You didn't sleep well last night, so this prince will accompany you today. Rong Xiu carried her to the bed, gently put her down, and then he leaned against the side. Chu Luiyue was a little surprised, and she blinked. Your Highness doesn't want to sleep? Rong Xiu leaned over and lowered his voice. This prince can't sleep with you so close. Just sleep, don't worry about anything else. Chu Luiyue swallowed the rest of her words, hesitated for a moment, and closed her eyes. She was probably too tired from the past 2 days, so it didn't take long for her to fall asleep. Rong Xiao held her wrist with one hand, and a faint silver light silently flowed into Chu Liyue's palm. Chu Liyue's breathing gradually became long. She didn't know if she was having a nightmare, but her brows suddenly furrowed tightly, and her expression was pained. Rong Xiao looked at her, reached out, and slowly smoothed her brows, and moved closer to her ear. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." His voice was very soft, as if it would dissipate in the wind at any time. However, the pained expression on Chu Liyue's face gradually faded, and she became tranquil again. She unconsciously leaned towards the warm place until her whole body leaned against Rong Xiao's chest, and finally settled down. Rong Xiao closed his eyes, suppressing the inexplicable restlessness in his body. She really always knows how to torture him. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from AI Network. Chapter 181. The next morning, when Chu Liyue woke up, Rong Xiao had already left. She reached out and touched the area beside her. There was still a trace of warmth, and it was obvious that he had just left. At this moment, the sky was already starting to brighten. It would indeed be inappropriate for him to be seen here. Chu Liyue got up and smelled a faint cold fragrance on her body. That was Rong Xiao's scent. Chu Liyue heaved a sigh of relief. The situation last night really put her in a difficult position. Now that she couldn't see him, she didn't have to think so much. Tuanzi got out of the quilt and rubbed her eyes, as if she was still sleepy. Chu Liyue asked as she tidied up, "You look sleepy. You look very sleepy. Did you not rest well?" Dumpling yawned loudly, and its eyes were filled with resentment. Not only did it not sleep well, it didn't sleep at all last night. Originally, it wanted to sleep with Chu Liyue, but every time it jumped onto the bed, it would be chased out. It could only curl up in a corner for the entire night, feeling wronged. It only returned to the soft bed after a certain someone left. Chu Liyue was already awake after sleeping for a short while. How could it not be sleepy? "Then you can stay here for the night. I'll be back tonight." Chu Liyue was about to go out as she spoke. Dumpling was unhappy when it heard that. It hurriedly jumped onto Chu Liyue's shoulder and curled itself into a ball with its fluffy tail. Chu Liyue patted its head and placed it back on the bed. "You won't be able to enter the place I'm going to today. Just rest here and wait for me to come back." Dumpling could only wag its tail in agreement. Chu Liyue came to Jiuyou Tower again. Unlike the previous days, Jiuyou Tower was especially quiet today. They didn't bump into anyone on their way to Chu Liyue. Probably because many people were injured in the Thousand Spirit Mountain range and most of them were still recovering, there were very few people who came. When he was about to reach Jiuyou Tower, Chu Liyue suddenly heard a commotion. She looked in the direction of the voice and saw Lu Fian and a few others huddled together in a secluded corner. They seemed to be talking to someone in the middle. The person trapped in the middle was Chu Xianmin. "Min, I remember that your cultivation time in Jiuyou Tower is quite long, right? I ran out of mine a few days ago. Can you lend me 6 hours of your time?" Lu Fian seemed to be asking for help, but her tone was very matter-of-fact, as if she was asking for something that originally belonged to her. And the few of them, they haven't had the time to do the mission yet. As for them, they don't ask for much. You just need to give them 2 hours each. Chu Xianmin looked at the few people in front of her and suppressed the anger in her heart. She said, "I don't have much left. I really can't give you so much at once. You're not willing?" Lu Fian glanced at her from the side and mocked her. Min, we're good sisters. You're not even willing to share this with us?" Chu Xianmin clenched her teeth. "What good sisters? They're just a bunch of dogs who are adding insult to injury." "That's right. Min, I heard that your family is quite busy. You probably don't have time to come to Jiuyou Tower to cultivate, right? Why don't you lend it to us first?" said a girl on purpose. The few of them looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Everyone knew that Chu Yen was almost beaten to death by Chu Ning, and Lu Yao had offended the Gu family. Now that they couldn't even protect themselves, how could they care about Chu Xianmin? As for the Crown Prince's mansion, If Chu Xianmin had won the crown prince's favor, why hadn't she helped her family solve their problems? These words hit Chu Xianmin's sore spot, and her expression changed instantly. I said that I don't have it means I don't have it. Lu Fian raised her hand angrily. You, wait. An anxious young man's voice was heard. Chu Luiwei looked over and smiled. This person was Ji Yurong. He ran over quickly and handed over his nameplate. I still have 6 hours here. Take it first. We're all classmates. Why do you have to make things so ugly? Lu Fian and the rest looked at him mockingly. Oh, Ji Yurong? Are you trying to stand up for her? Have you forgotten how she rejected you back then? You're too spineless, aren't you? Ji Yurong was a little embarrassed. I'm not thinking of anything. We're all classmates. There's really no need to fall out over such a small matter. Besides, this place is quite close to Jiuyou Tower. It won't be good if the teacher finds out. This sentence successfully made Lu Fian and the rest restrain themselves. She took Ji Yurong's nameplate and drew a line on her own nameplate. A faint light flashed. She threw the dimmed nameplate back. I'll let you off for today. After saying that, he left with the others. After ensuring that they would not return, Ji Yurong carefully looked at Chu Xianmin. Are you all right, Smack? How many times have I told you not to appear in front of me in public? Ji Yurong was very embarrassed. Don't be angry, don't be angry. I just saw them bullying you. I'll leave now, get lost. Ji Yurong could not say anything else. His heart ached as he took a step back. Chu Xianmin closed her eyes in hatred. Now, everyone was laughing at her. Even Ji Yurong only knew how to cause trouble for her. How many times have I told you to pretend that you don't know me when there are other people around? Don't you understand human language? Do you know how hard my life will be if this gets out? If the crown prince had not been busy with his own matters, he would have definitely taught her a lesson. Not to mention, Ji Yurong hurriedly said, don't worry. I'll make Lu Fian and the rest shut up. No one will find out about this. So what if they find out? A clear voice sounded. Chu Xianmin and Ji Yurong were shocked as they hurriedly turned around. There's actually someone eavesdropping here? Chu Luiwei crossed his arms and leaned against the wall. He looked at the two people's interesting expressions with interest. What an infatuated young man. Chu Xianmin, someone treats you so well, yet you treat him like this. Don't you think you're going overboard? Chapter 182. Chu Xianmin looked at Chu Luiwei in shock. You've been here the whole time? What did you hear? Chu Luiwei touched his chin. Oh, I didn't hear much. I just watched a good show. He helped you out of goodwill, but you didn't appreciate it and even slapped him. TSK, isn't this a little inappropriate? She must have seen and heard everything. Chu Xianmin's gaze changed. She had always been very careful and would never interact with Ji Yurong in front of others. She did not expect to be caught red-handed by Chu Luiwei. Now, she could only bite the bullet and deny it. A thought flashed through her mind and she sneered. There are many people who like me. Do I have to respond to every one of them? Besides, I didn't ask him for help. He didn't know what was good for him. She then glared at Ji Yurong fiercely. I'll say it one last time. I'm already married to the crown prince. Don't bother me from now on. Otherwise, you won't have a good time. Ji Yurong also knew that he and Chu Xianmin would not have an easy time if Chu Luiwei publicized this matter. Thus, he hurriedly cooperated with her. He quickly cooperated and said, Yes, I know. I didn't know my limits. It won't happen again. Chu Xianmin turned around and left. Wait. Chu Luiwei stepped in front of Chu Xianmin and blocked her. What else do you want to do? Don't you know very well what I want to do? Chu Luiwei looked at her coldly with an indescribable pressure. Hand over the antidote. Chu Xianmin's heart seemed to be clenched by something. She forced herself to say, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh. Chu Luiwei's gaze moved back and forth between Ji Yurong and Chu Xianmin, making them feel even more guilty. You don't want to admit it? Then, why don't we talk to Elder Sun and the rest? Let's see what's going on. I heard that the Chu family is in a mess recently. I don't think anyone will be willing to help you, right? It's not a small crime to harm a fellow disciple. I didn't harm a fellow disciple. I didn't poison him. Don't even think about slandering me. Chu Xinmin's voice suddenly became much sharper. Chu Luiyue said slowly. I didn't say poison. How did you know? Chu Xianmin felt as if someone was strangling her neck. Ji Yurong's face was already filled with panic. Today seems to be the first time I've seen you after returning to the academy. We've only spoken a few words, and you've already mentioned poisoning. If you want evidence, isn't this the best evidence? Now, are you still going to say that I'm slandering you? Chu Luiyue spoke slowly, but every word was like a sharp knife cutting across Chu Xinmin's heart. All the blood in his body seemed to have stopped flowing. His head was dizzy and swollen, as if it was about to explode. Oh no, I didn't say anything, said Chu Xianmin frantically. Do you want to admit it now and hand over the antidote, or do you want me to personally go to your residence and show the evidence of your correspondence to Elder Sun before expelling you from the academy? Chu Xianmin suddenly raised her head and stared at Chu Luiyue in shock. How does he even know about this? Seeing her reaction, Chu Luiyue sneered. Ever since Mu Hongyu found out that Ji Yurong and Chu Xianmin had an abnormal relationship, they started looking for evidence. Yesterday, after Ji Yurong said that he was going out on a mission, she secretly followed him. Everything was normal during the day, but he finally gave himself away at night and went to Chu Xinmin's residence. He did not even enter the door and only lingered outside the wall for a while before leaving. She went forward in the dark and indeed found a mechanism. These two people actually relied on the gap in the wall to send messages. Chu Xinmin's heart was in a mess. She suddenly turned around and looked at Ji Yurong. You betrayed me? Ji Yurong hurriedly explained. I didn't. I also don't know. He really did not know. Ever since he felt that Chu Luiyue had discovered something, he was extra careful. He could not be more careful these 2 days. However, he did not expect to be discovered. He did not know that although Chu Luiyue's cultivation level was not high, his ability to hide his aura was top-notch. It was as easy as flipping one's hand to follow him and find evidence. Chu Luiyue originally wanted to find more evidence before testifying against Chu Xianmin, but he did not expect to encounter such a scene. It was better to come at the right time than early. It could only be said that Ji Yurong was anxious for his lover and lost his sense of propriety. That was why the matter was exposed so quickly. The antidote. Chu Luiyue repeated impatiently. Chu Xianmin clenched her fists tightly and finally closed her eyes in resignation. I don't have the antidote. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. You don't have it? Chu Luiyue's gaze gradually turned cold. I don't have it means I don't have it. You can ask me 100 or 1,000 times, but I still don't have it. Anyway, you already know about the matter. If you want to report me, it's up to you. However, I don't have the antidote. Chu Xianmin knew that she had nowhere to go. The emotions that she had been suppressing suddenly exploded as she screamed like a lunatic. Chu Luiyue furrowed his brows slightly. It seems like she really doesn't have the antidote. Where did you get the red blood goo? Red blood goo? What red blood goo? Chu Xianmin was stunned. Chu Luiyue stared at her for a while. If you really don't know, why did you do this to Liao Zhongshu? Chu Xianmin said hatefully. Because he's in cahoots with you. Then he deserves to die. Everyone around you, including you, deserves to die. Chu Luiyue flipped his wrist, and a silver light flashed. The sharp and cold dagger was immediately pressed against Chu Xinmin's neck. Don't kill her. Ji Yurong was shocked and immediately wanted to rush over. Chu Luiyue coldly glanced at him. Ji Yurong felt the cold, murderous intent and immediately stopped in his tracks. Chu Xianmin did not expect Chu Luiyue to act so quickly. She did not have time to react and was already in the other party's hands. She broke out in a cold sweat. Chu Luiyue is a ruthless person. She really dared to do it. I'll ask you one last time. Give me the antidote. Chu Xianmin closed her eyes in despair and trembled all over. I said I don't have it. Then, where did you get the poison? That's... Chu Xianmin seemed to be afraid of something and refused to speak. Chu Luiyue exerted force in his hand, and the blade quickly slit Chu Xinmin's neck. Someone gave it to me. I don't know who it is. Chu Xianmin finally spoke. However, this answer surprised Chu Luiyue. He approached her and asked, "You don't know?" "I really don't know. That person always wears a mask, and I don't know what he looks like." Even his voice was changed on purpose. "He only appeared once and asked me if I wanted to take revenge on you. I said I wanted to, and he gave me a bag of poison. I don't know anything else." Chu Xianmin stuttered as she finished speaking. Her entire face was ashen. "If you don't believe me, then there's nothing I can do. You can just kill me." Chu Luiyue slowly narrowed his eyes. "Who is it that wants to kill me?" Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 183. Many thoughts flashed across Chu Luiyue's mind. She had offended many people, but no one seemed to be able to produce a poison like red blood goo. Even Tianlu Academy's teachers did not know much about red blood goo, let alone other people in the imperial city. The Chu family? The crown prince? Or someone else? The enemy was in the dark, while she was in the light. It was as if there was a fog in front of her, covering the truth of the matter. She could not see it clearly. Chu Luiyue thought for a while and finally let go of the dagger. Chu Xianmin then panted heavily and looked at Chu Luiyue with resentment. "I've said everything I can. Are you satisfied?" "Of course not. I wanted the antidote, but you didn't give it to me. You harmed me and my friends. Do you expect me to just let it go?" Chu Luiyue looked at her, amused. "Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself?" Chu Xianmin knew that Chu Luiyue would not let it go so easily. "Then what do you want?" Chu Luiyue raised his eyebrows slightly. "I don't want anything. I just want to tell Elder Sun and the rest about this matter. After all, it's really a sleepless night for people like you to kill people from the same school at all costs. You dare to let me go? You were the one who did the wrong thing first. How can you blame others?" Chu Luiyue looked at her with a half-smile. "What a pity. I heard that you entered as the top student. Who would have thought that you would be chased out of the academy with your tail between your legs?" "No!" Chu Luiyue's words completely agitated Chu Xianmin. She quickly walked forward and wanted to grab Chu Luiyue, but Chu Luiyue easily avoided her. "You can't chase me out. I can't leave. I won't leave." Now, she could not return to the Chu family, and she could not make a comeback in the Crown Prince mansion. If she was chased out of the academy, her life would be completely ruined. This was her only chance to make a comeback. How could she give it up? Chu Luiyue looked indifferent. "You brought this upon yourself." Chu Xianmin was extremely anxious. After thinking for a long time, she finally begged Chu Luiyue. "I'm begging you. Don't tell anyone about this. As long as you promise me, I promise that I will never go against you again. I'll do whatever you say. I beg you." When she saw that Chu Luiyue had no reaction, she gritted her teeth and knelt down. "What will it take for you to let me go?" Ji Yurong went forward with a pained heart. "Min Min." Chu Xianmin glared at him viciously and immediately nailed him to the ground. "Do you think I haven't suffered enough?" Scram. Ji Yurong felt extremely guilty and actually knelt down as well. Chu Luiyue looked down at the two of them, his heart unperturbed. On the contrary, she saw Chu Xianmin in a different light. How proud was Chu Xianmin in the past? She hated her so much that she wanted to die, but now she had to kneel down. She knew when to yield and when not to. This kind of temperament was more than just a little bit more ruthless than before. It seemed like the continuous attacks during this period had almost forced Chu Xianmin to a dead end. Seeing that Chu Luiyue was indifferent, Chu Xianmin closed her eyes and kowtowed heavily on the ground. Chu Luiyue glanced at her pale hands, which were tightly clasped to the ground. If she had the chance, Chu Xianmin would definitely return today's humiliation 100-fold. "It's not impossible for you to stay. You just have to promise me one thing." The waiting time was exceptionally long. Chu Xianmin felt that every second of silence was tearing at her pride. Just when she thought that Chu Luiyue would not agree, she finally heard the answer that she had been yearning for. She suddenly raised her head, and her eyes were faintly red. Chu Luiwei enunciated each and every word clearly. You just have to pretend that nothing happened today and wait for that person to come again. Chu Xianmin was stunned and immediately gritted her teeth. I got it. Chu Luiwei nodded, turned around, and left. She had just taken a step when she suddenly turned around. Oh right. I forgot to tell you that my dagger is smeared with poison. Chu Xianmin was stunned. What? Chu Luiwei kindly advised. Don't worry. This poison is slow-acting. If you do your job well, I will naturally give you the antidote regularly. However, if you play any tricks, don't blame me for being ruthless. This poison will enter deep into your body and corrode your organs first, followed by your bones. A month later, your entire body will fester from the inside out, and you will die. Tsk, you don't want to die so ugly, right? Chu Xianmin was furious, but she suppressed it with much difficulty. I got it. Chu Luiwei glanced at Ji Yurong again. You can move out yourself later. I don't have to do anything, right? No need, no need. I know what to do. Ji Yurong hurriedly agreed. Chu Luiwei then left slowly. When her figure completely disappeared, Chu Xianmin harshly slammed her fist on the ground. Be asterisk Min Min. Ji Yurong's heart ached as he went to help her, but he was slapped away. Chu Xianmin supported herself and stood up. Her palm was scratched by the rough ground because she used too much strength, and her hand was covered in blood. However, this pain was nothing. The humiliation that Chu Luiwei gave her today was the most unforgettable. Ji Yurong saw that her eyes were bloodshot and terrifyingly sinister. He was worried and afraid. He wanted to say something, but his face was still burning with pain, so he could only shut his mouth. Chu Xianmin touched the wound on her neck and was suspicious. Was there really poison on that dagger? However, whether there was poison or not, she did not dare to act rashly. She could only let Chu Luiwei do whatever he wanted. She turned around to leave, but after taking 2 steps, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the ground. Min Min! Ji Yurong exclaimed and hurriedly went forward, but he saw that Chu Xianmin had already fainted. Digression, translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation slightly later, at around 9:30 a.m. Chapter 184. When Chu Luiwei arrived at Jiuyou Tower, only Elder Wei Yun was at the door. As usual, he was taking a nap in his chair. But before Chu Luiwei could speak, he opened his eyes and looked over. When he saw that it was Chu Luiwei, he rubbed his eyes in shock. Luyu? Why are you here? Chu Luiwei went forward and smiled. I'm here to cultivate. Elder Wei Yun was even more surprised as he sized her up. Didn't you just come back from Wanling Mountain? Don't you need to recuperate? If you drag your sick body to Jiuyou Tower to cultivate, it will only do more harm than good. Thank you for your concern, Elder Wei Yun, but I've already recovered. As Chu Luiwei spoke, she handed over the nameplate on her left chest. Wei Yun took it hesitantly. Are you serious? Those little brats were sent back under protection, and they were seriously injured. You came out alone, but you're fine? Chu Luiwei coughed. Maybe. I'm lucky. I didn't suffer any fatal injuries, and my body recovered quickly. Of course, she couldn't say that she was seriously injured, but because she had the Daijing Yuan Meridian, her recovery speed was much better than ordinary people. In addition, she was a celestial physician. She just needed to use some of the herbs she got from Zhenbao Pavilion, and she recovered quickly. Wei Yun saw that her face was rosy and she was full of energy. She indeed didn't look like she was injured, and he couldn't help but be amused. Hey, you're really something. Go. With that, he drew Chu Luiwei's nameplate on the black jade and handed it back to her. Chu Luiwei thanked him and walked toward the door of Jiuyou Tower. When she reached the door, she felt a biting cold aura again. She looked up slightly and saw that the eagle carved on the door didn't open its eyes, but the terrifying aura was still frightening. Chu Luiwei took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Everything was normal, and the aura quickly dissipated as if it had never appeared. Chu Luiwei calmly entered a room on the first floor. Actually, there was only one time when the eagle opened its eyes and almost took her life. After that, she came again, and nothing like this happened again. Perhaps it was because the water droplet in her dantian had fought with the other party once, causing the other party to be very wary. After that, there was nothing strange when she came again. But today, the ferocious beasts in Juyo Tower seem a little irritable, Chu Luiwei murmured in his heart. For some reason, she felt as if something was about to happen. The water droplet floated silently without any response. After thinking for a while, Chu Luiwei decided not to waste any more effort. He held his breath and began to cultivate. Recently, she vaguely felt that she was about to break through, but there was only one pattern on the water droplet. There was no point in being anxious about such matters. All he could do was patiently absorb the origin power of heaven and earth and strive to advance as soon as possible. She wanted to see just how much her strength had increased for the water droplet to allow her to break through. After Chu Luiwei entered Juyo Tower, Elder Wei Yun closed his eyes again and planned to go back to sleep. But not long after, he sensed that someone had come, and he opened his eyes again. But the person who appeared in front of him was a face that he had never seen before. That young man had a noble and calm temperament. He had a good aura, and the golden auspicious clouds that were faintly discernible at the corner of his clothes showed that he had an extraordinary identity. Elder Wei Yun reacted for a while and vaguely guessed who the person was. "You are," Junior Rong Xiu greets Elder Wei Yun. "Indeed." Elder Wei Yun stared at him for a while and suddenly shook his head with a smile. "I guess that it was you. You and that child, Ryue, really look alike." Ryue was naturally Consort Wan, Rong Xiu's birth mother. Rong Xiu smiled. "I didn't expect Elder Wei Yun to know my mother." "Of course I know her. She was so talented back then. Forget it, forget it. It's all in the past. There's no need to mention it again. I heard that you came to the academy to pay respects to her?" Perhaps because he admired Consort Wan back then, Elder Wei Yun looked at Rong Xiu with a very gentle gaze. "I heard that my mother liked to cultivate here, so I want to go in and take a look." Wei Yun revealed a nostalgic expression. Although she was a Xian master back then, she was also very talented as a warrior. She would come here whenever she had time. But her health wasn't very good, so she didn't come here again. But there are conditions for entering Juyo Tower. I've heard about this from Elder Sunday. I'm not a student of the academy, so I don't have the right to enter. But I just want to take a look at the place where my mother stayed back then. I wonder if Elder Wei Yun can make an exception? Forget it. Since you're Ryue's son, you naturally have the right to enter. But I heard that your health isn't very good. The heaven and earth force in Juyo Tower is very rich. If you stay for too long, it'll be harmful. Rong Xiu bowed slightly. "Thank you, Elder Wei Yun. I'll only go in for a while and won't stay for too long." Elder Wei Yun nodded. "Go ahead." Rong Xiu thanked Elder Wei Yun again before turning around and walking towards Juyo Tower. Looking at his back view, Elder Wei Yun stroked his beard regretfully. It was a pity Ryue was so outstanding back then. If Rong Xiu was healthy, he would definitely inherit her talent. He would definitely be a rare talent now. However, all of this was just wishful thinking. Rong Xiu walked to the door and placed his long and fair hand on the door. It was cold to the touch and it was bone-chilling. But in the next moment, there was a sudden flash of light on the eagle's wings. It seemed to be about to unfold. The karmic fire under its body also burned crazily, transmitting its scorching heat to Rong Xiu's palm. Everything seemed to be stirring, as if it was about to come alive from the bronze door. Rong Xiu's expression didn't change. His eyes darkened, and a surge of power gushed out from his palm. Boom! The two forces collided violently and exploded silently. The flames were extinguished instantly, and the light on the eagle's wings dimmed immediately. In the blink of an eye, everything returned to normal. Rong Xiu glanced sideways. This short confrontation didn't attract Elder Wei Yun's attention. He pushed the door open and entered. There were very few people in Juyo Tower. After he walked in, he looked around and walked straight to the center. Looking up, there were layers of spiraling stairs that led to the upper levels of Juyo Tower. Rong Xiu looked at the top level. His eyes were as deep as the night sky, and they carried a frightening aura. The surroundings were quiet, and everything was normal. Rong Xiu stepped on the stairs. A sharp whistling sound suddenly reached his ears. It was hysterical, crazy, and mournful. He narrowed his eyes dangerously. "Are you scared?" With that he walked up again. At the same time, Chu Luiyue, who was cultivating, opened his eyes abruptly, and he was shocked. "It's that ferocious beast that's roaring." Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 185. She immediately got up and walked out of the door. However, when she walked outside, she saw that the vast space was actually empty and cheerless. There was only a familiar white figure on the stairs in the middle. Rong Xiu. Chu Luiyue was very surprised. He wasn't a student of the academy. How did he get in? And from the looks of it, he was still going up. Rong Xiu heard footsteps and turned around to take a look. The coldness in his eyes instantly dissipated and was replaced by surprise. "Why are you here?" Chu Luiyue laughed. "Your Highness, shouldn't I be the one asking you that? Only people from Tianlu Academy can enter Jiuyou Tower. How did you get in?" Rong Xiu's eyes flickered. "I came to see what my mother liked when she was alive. It's just a casual look. You can go back and cultivate." Other people might believe this, but Chu Luiyue didn't. Although she didn't have any concrete evidence, she felt that Rong Xiu's motive for coming to Tianlu Academy wasn't simple. She looked around and realized that no one except her had come out from the other rooms. "Your Highness, did you hear something just now?" she asked tentatively. Rong Xiu's eyes seemed to be filled with doubt. "What sound?" Chu Luiyue frowned slightly. Did Rong Xiu really not hear it? No one else came out, and there didn't seem to be anything unusual. However, she was sure that she wasn't hallucinating just now. She could clearly hear the sharp screeching sound. Rong Xiu raised his chin. "Do you want to go up with me to take a look?" Chu Luiyue smiled. "Your Highness, you might not know, but it's not that easy to go up to Jiuyou Tower. I'm a Stage 1 warrior, so I can only stay on the first floor for now. I can only go up to the second floor after I break through to become a Stage 2 warrior." Although it wasn't a problem for her to go up to the third floor with her true strength, she didn't plan to do so for now. She deliberately sized up Rong Xiu and teased him. "Your Highness has a weak body, so it's best to be careful." Rong Xiu's thin lips curved up slightly. She was deliberately targeting him because of what happened yesterday. "Then I won't disturb you any longer. After a while, I will leave." After Rong Xiu finished speaking, he continued to walk up. Chu Luiyue narrowed his eyes slightly. Actually, she had a vague guess in her heart. Perhaps the sudden roar of the ferocious beast had something to do with Rong Xiu. She pricked up her ears and listened carefully for a while, but she didn't hear anything else. It was as if everything that had happened just now was an illusion. At this time, Rong Xiu had already reached the second floor. With a step, he disappeared from Chu Luiyue's sight. Chu Luiyue stood there for a while, then turned around and went back to his room. Rong Xiu's strength was unfathomable, and it was definitely more than enough for him to go up to the second floor. However, she didn't know which floor he would go to in the end. And why did he come here? After closing the door, Chu Luiyue sat cross-legged, closed her eyes, and began to cultivate again. Rong Xiu walked up step by step. When he reached the second floor, he paused and looked around. The number of rooms here was obviously much fewer than the first floor, but each room was relatively larger. Those who could come here were at least Stage 2 warriors. Now that most of the students were recuperating, there weren't many people on the first floor, and the second floor was even more deserted. Rong Xiu continued to walk up. The pressure on different floors was different, and ordinary students would slow down when they reached here. Even Stage 3 warriors would have to try a few times before they could successfully reach the third floor. But Rong Xiu's footsteps were as calm as ever. He didn't stop at all and directly crossed the stairs to the third floor. But he didn't stop. Soft but clear footsteps echoed in Jiuyou Tower. Very quickly, Rong Xiu felt that there was a transparent barrier at the top of the stairs. This was the barrier on the fourth floor. In Tianlu Academy, apart from the elders and teachers, there were very few Stage 4 warriors among the students. Thus, very few people came to this floor. Through the barrier, Rong Xiu could clearly feel the rich heaven and earth force on the 4th floor. The heaven and earth force here was a few times stronger than the outside world. If he could cultivate here, his speed would increase tremendously. But at the same time, the pressure and danger contained here would increase exponentially. He looked up slightly, and his deep and quiet gaze landed on the barrier. Buzz. With just a glance, ripples rapidly appeared on the barrier, and it broke open from the middle. Rong Xiu walked straight up. When he walked past the barrier, he waved his hand gently, and the barrier quickly repaired itself before returning to normal. It seemed like no one had been here before. Elder Wei Yun lay lazily on the chair and supported his head with one hand. He was drowsy. At a certain moment, he suddenly opened his eyes. His originally lazy gaze instantly turned sharp as he looked at Juyo Tower. Just now, he clearly felt that there was a strange movement in Juyo Tower. But when he wanted to carefully sense it again, he realized that the unusual ripple had already dissipated. Elder Wei Yun furrowed his brows, stood up, and took 2 steps forward. But there was no more movement from Juyo Tower. Elder Wei Yun stood rooted to the ground and looked at Juyo Tower with a complicated gaze. Not only did he not feel relaxed at all, but he also became more worried. Actually, this wasn't the first time something like this had happened in Juyo Tower. Recently, Juyo Tower would always have some strange movements that would disappear very quickly. He had tried to investigate in detail before, but it was to no avail. Perhaps he should discuss this with the dean as soon as possible. Rong Xiu walked all the way up and didn't attract anyone's attention until he reached the 6th floor. On this floor, there was no one else besides him. The density of the force here was so high that even the teachers in the academy might not be able to withstand it. But Rong Xiu's expression was normal, and he didn't seem to feel uncomfortable at all. He resealed the barrier on the 6th floor and finally stopped. He raised his eyes and looked up. In reality, there were barriers on the top 3 floors, and he couldn't see anything here. But he seemed to be able to see through them and see the innermost floor. "Do you still want to continue?" His low and cold voice reverberated in the empty 6th floor, and it carried the absolute suppression that only a superior could have. No one answered. "It's been so many years, but your temper has grown." Rong Xiu's expression turned slightly cold. Hiss, a strange sound traveled over. It had a tinge of suppressed madness, but it couldn't hide its fear. It was naturally afraid of Rong Xiu. Rong Xiu clenched his fist slightly, and silver force rapidly gathered, finally forming a long whip full of barbs. He raised his hand expressionlessly and swung it violently. But the long whip hit the barrier on the 7th floor harshly. A mournful shriek rang out once again. "This whip is for your crime of being disobedient." But the second whip followed closely. "This whip is for your crime of attempting to possess someone else's body." Rong Xiu's eyes were cold as he spoke slowly. "If you don't listen to me, this 3rd whip will definitely break your pearl of essence. Do you understand?" Chapter 186. When Rong Xiu came out of Juyo Tower, Elder Wei Yun was still a little surprised. "You're out so quickly? Did you take a good look around?" Rong Xiu smiled faintly and nodded. "I just wanted to know what Juyo Tower looked like when my mother was alive, so I went in for a while. Besides, I'm not a student of the academy. I'm already very grateful that you let me in." Elder Wei Yun thought to himself. Rong Xiu's body was weak, and he could only take a look at the 1st floor. It was normal for him to take such a short time. However, he couldn't say this out loud. "It's nothing. What's there to thank me for? I heard that you'll be staying in the academy for a while. If you want to come, feel free to." Ruyue had helped the academy a lot back then. As Rong Xiu was her only child, they naturally took care of him. "Thank you, Elder Wei Yun." Rong Xiu thanked him again and coughed twice. Elder Wei Yun saw that his face was a little pale and thought that this child's body was indeed weak. He immediately let him go back. Rong Xiu naturally followed his advice. Elder Wei Yun looked back at Jiuyou Tower again. For some reason, that faint uneasiness seemed to have dissipated a lot. When Rong Xiu returned to Yifeng courtyard, Yanqing welcomed him and asked nervously, "Master, did you go to Jiuyou Tower?" "Master, you went to Jiuyou Tower?" He had left the academy in the morning and heard that his master had gone there the moment he returned. "Didn't you say that you wouldn't make any moves for the time being?" Rong Xiu walked to the peach tree and lay on the rattan chair lazily. "If you're disobedient, I naturally have to teach you a lesson." Yanqing's heart skipped a beat. Only then did he realize that his master seemed to be a little angry. This anger seemed to be directed at Jiuyou Tower? "You can leave this matter to Chuan Qiong. Why do you have to do it personally?" Yanqing really didn't understand. Entering Tianlu Academy was already eye-catching enough. Now that master had gone to Jiuyou Tower in front of everyone, who knew what those people would do if news of this spread? Rong Xiu closed his eyes. The sunlight fell on his eyelashes, leaving a faint shadow under his eyelids. Yanqing furrowed his brows in confusion. Didn't master rest at Miss Lu Yu's place yesterday? Why does he look like he didn't sleep well? Didn't he always sleep better with Miss Lu Yu by his side? But seeing that Rong Xiu did not say a word, Yanqing immediately understood that her master was going to rest. She bowed and said, "Your subordinate will take his leave first." He took a few steps back before turning around and walking into the house. Just as he reached the door, a thought flashed through his mind. Wait, when was the last time Chuan Qiong sent news about Jiuyou Tower's biggest anomaly? That day seemed to be the day Miss Lu Yu entered Jiuyou Tower for the first time. Chuan Qiong even suspected that the anomaly had something to do with Chu Luiyue. Yanqing couldn't help but turn around to take a look, and the corners of her eyes twitched. After all this time, so master just personally went to stand up for Miss Lu Yu. Chu Luiyue absorbed the last bit of heaven and earth force into her body and integrated it into the water droplet in her dantian. Then she slowly opened her eyes. It seemed that after her training in Wanling Mountain, her abilities had increased a lot after her body recovered. Now, she could faintly feel that she was about to break through to become a Stage 2 warrior. Then, she would be able to go to the second level and speed up her cultivation. Thinking of this, Chu Luiyue glanced at the hourglass on the wall. She realized that her cultivation time had just ended, so she got up and left. When she reached the stairs, she couldn't help but stop and look up. The stairs spiraled upwards, and she couldn't see what was at the top. And Rong Xiu didn't seem to be there either. Jiuyou Tower was very quiet, and it was as if the mournful screams from before never appeared. When Chu Luiyue arrived at Mu Hongyu's residence, she saw that she was flipping through a book in boredom. She seemed to be worried about something, and her thin eyebrows were knitted together as if she wanted to use her eyes to look through the book. Hongyu. Hearing Chu Luiyue's voice, Mu Hongyu returned to her senses and looked at Chu Luiyue weakly. "Lu Yu, you're here. What's wrong? You look so listless." Chu Luiyue sat down beside her and glanced at the book indifferently. "It's because my body hasn't recovered, so I can't cultivate." Mu Hongyu looked up and sighed. "I've never suffered such a serious injury since I was young. Who knew that it would take so long? I'm going to fall sick from holding it in." Chu Luiyue poured himself a cup of tea, doubting the credibility of her words. "You haven't been idle these few days. Why are you idle now?" Mu Hongyu snorted. "Ji Yurong went to look for teacher to change rooms today, and he took his things to another place in the afternoon. Don't tell me you don't know about this." Chu Luiyue's hand that was holding the teacup paused slightly. I coincidentally bumped into the two of them today, so I settled this matter directly. That's why I said I'm idle." Mu Hongyu leaned back, opened the booklet, and covered her face with it. "I still need a few more days before I can move my body. Just thinking about it makes me so bored." She suddenly thought of something, sat up straight, and stared at Chu Luiyue carefully. "That's not right. You're also injured. I remember that it's more serious than mine. Why do you look fine now? I heard that you went to Jiuyou Tower to cultivate today?" Chu Luiyue nodded. "It's really infuriating to compare yourself to others. Even if Chu Luiyue's talent was better than hers, she didn't have to bully others like this." Chu Luiyue smiled faintly. The recovery speed of the Daijing Yuan Meridian was indeed much faster. Don't worry, I won't go tomorrow. But I've used up my 38 hours. Chu Luiyue tapped on her nameplate. Mu Hongyu was shocked at first, then looked at him with disdain. Who told you to go every day? It's already good that you're able to last until now. So I'm here to ask for advice. How can I earn these cultivation hours? Mu Hongyu threw the book in her hand to Chu Luiyue. Here, all the ways to earn cultivation hours are here. Take a look. Chu Luiyue had noticed this earlier, but she didn't expect it to be related to Jiuyo Tower. She flipped to the first page and saw a line of words at the top. A third-grade magical beast's core of essence in exchange for 2 hours. This was given out when school started. Everyone has one. It's normal that you don't have one since you entered the school in the middle. There are all kinds of missions written here. The harder the mission, the better the reward. Chu Luiyue flipped to the back. A 5th-grade magical beast's core of essence in exchange for 100 hours. The difference was quite big. However, it was understandable. The difficulty of obtaining a 5th-grade magical beast's core of essence was indeed many times higher than obtaining a 3rd-grade magical beast's core of essence. As Chu Luiyue was reading, Mu Hongyu suddenly leaned in and asked in a low voice, "Oh, right. Oh, right, I heard that Prince Li also went to Jiuyo Tower today?" Chu Luiyue glanced at her. "How did you know?" "I'm not the only one who knows. Now, the entire academy knows about it, all right? You don't know, but Prince Li has become the most popular person in the school. Of course, it's only for women. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network." Chapter 187. Chu Luiyue was a little surprised. Of course it's because of his face. Mu Hongyu let out a strange cry. "You don't really think that His Highness Prince Li looks ordinary, do you?" Chu Luiyue's eyes shouldn't be a problem. Chu Luiyue's eyes twitched. For a moment, she was speechless. Mu Hongyu's words were not without reason. That devilish face was indeed very deceiving. In the past, the most famous person in the academy was the Crown Prince. Objectively speaking, the Crown Prince is also considered handsome, but compared to Rong Xiu, this is miserable. That kind of magnificent bearing was simply the difference between the clouds and mud. I heard that His Highness Prince Li's mother was deeply doted on by His Majesty. Now, the most favored concubine can't be compared to her at all. Looking at His Highness Prince Li's face, it's not difficult to understand why. Yesterday, when he appeared, countless women instantly changed sides and fell in love with him. Chu Luiyue suddenly remembered that the day before, Rong Xiu was just quietly lying in Yifeng courtyard and attracted the admiration of many women. She felt a little inexplicably stifled in her heart, but she didn't show it on her face. She calmly flipped through the book in her hand and asked in a seemingly unintentional manner, "His Highness Prince Li is not bad, but he is sick in bed all year round. I'm afraid his body is very weak. Don't they mind? So what? Have you forgotten that he is the current 7th prince, His Highness Prince Li? Just this title alone is enough to make countless women rush forward dauntlessly, not to mention that he is born with such a face. I think that there are many women who are willing to take care of him." Chu Luiyue's hand paused. "That's true. I heard that His Highness Prince Li will be living in the academy for a period of time. Many people have some thoughts about it. Fortunately, the place he lives is quite special. Ordinary students don't dare to rashly approach it. I remember that you live not far away?" Chu Luiyue looked up at her. "What are you trying to say?" Mu Hongyu chuckled. "It's nothing. I just feel that Prince Li seems to treat you differently." She lowered her voice, her gossipy heart burning. After Prince Li returned to the capital, he didn't appear much. But the only time he attended the Crown Prince's birthday banquet, he helped you. Isn't that strange? And I keep having the feeling that he treats you differently." Chu Luiyue's eyes flashed. He rolled up the booklet and gently tapped her forehead. "So when you said you were free, you were thinking about these things?" "Ouch." Mu Hongyu touched her head. "I'm just kidding. I think your injuries are still too light. Aren't you running out of cultivation time? Speaking of this, Mu Hongyu pouted. That's right. In order to go to Wanling Mountain, I went to Jiuyou Tower to cultivate many times. It's a pity that he still hasn't broken through to become a stage 4 warrior. Chu Liwei thought for a while. You really want to break through? You have a way. Actually, you should be breaking through soon. Once your body recovers and you cultivate for a while, you will naturally be able to advance to a stage 4 warrior. Mu Hongyu rested her chin on her hands and asked curiously. I heard that some pills can also help to break through? Lu Yu, since you can help Zhongshu detoxify, can you also help me? Using pills is ultimately relying on external forces. Although it can help you break through quickly, it will do more harm than good to your future cultivation. If you use it now, it's very likely that you will stagnate in the future. I see. Mu Hongyu was shocked and hurriedly rejected. Then I don't want it. I'd better cultivate properly. Rest well for the next few days. I'll lend you some cultivation time. When you break through to become a stage 4 warrior, you can complete the missions on this booklet and return them to me. As Chu Liwei spoke, he returned the booklet to Mu Hongyu and got up to leave. Lu Yu, how do you plan to earn money? The missions on this booklet are quite troublesome. Happiness flashed across Chu Liu's eyes. I have my ways. What? Are you sure you want to use this level 5 Xian array diagram to exchange for cultivation time? Elder Wei Yun looked at the Xian array diagram in his hand and asked in shock. Chu Liwei left and came back just for this? That's right. Chu Liwei looked at him in confusion. But, can I exchange it? That's not it. It's just that, this level 5 Xian array diagram is extremely precious. Are you sure you want to take it out? Elder Wei Yun still found it unbelievable. Most people had never even seen a level 5 Xian array diagram before. Once they had one, they would definitely treat it as a treasure. But what was going on with Chu Liwei? He actually took it out to exchange for cultivation time in Jiuyou Tower? Wasn't this too extravagant? Lu Yu, you'd better reconsider. You don't have to cultivate in Jiuyou Tower. It's the same for you to cultivate in other places. It might be a little slow, but it's stable. Why are you in such a hurry? Elder Wei Yun's words were very tactful. In fact, he didn't approve of Chu Liwei doing this. Didn't she know that haste made waste? Chu Liu's lips curled up. Of course, she knew that she could absorb the heaven and earth force to cultivate anywhere. However, the Daijing Yuan Meridian's tolerance was much stronger than ordinary Yuan Meridian. Not only would she not be negatively affected in Jiuyou Tower, but she could also increase her cultivation speed. Why not? Moreover, she was indeed pressed for time. Elder Wei Yun, I know what I'm doing. Can you help me exchange it? Seeing Chu Liu's determined expression, Elder Wei Yun knew that it was useless to persuade her and could only agree. He kept the level 5 Xian formation diagram and gently swiped Chu Liu's nameplate on the black jade. Chu Liu clearly saw that the number on it changed from 0 to 100. Thank you, Elder Wei Yun. Chu Liu happily placed the nameplate back on her left chest. With these 100 hours, she shouldn't have to worry about these problems for the time being. However, Elder Wei Yun secretly shook his head. This child's thoughts and foresight are not far-sighted enough. I still have to persuade her some other day. Chu Liu glanced at him and knew what he was thinking, but she didn't intend to explain. If she told him now that she would come again in the future and continue to use Xian formation diagrams to exchange for cultivation time, Elder Wei Yun would probably beat her up. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 188. What? You exchanged a 5th-level Xian formation diagram for 100 hours. Upon hearing Chu Liu's explanation, Mu Hongyu jumped up in shock. Are you crazy? Chu Liu handed the nameplate over calmly. I'll lend you 40 hours first. You can return it to me later. Mu Hongyu covered her face in despair. Elder Wei Yun actually didn't reprimand you. Do you know how precious a 5th-level Xian formation diagram is? If you were a warrior, it's fine if you don't need it, but you're a Xian master. That Xian formation diagram wasn't mine in the first place. I won it from Gu Mingzhu last time. Isn't it a good idea to exchange it for these 100 hours? But Gu Mingzhu has never done such a thing. Mu Hongyu looked at Chu Liuyue's indifferent expression and was so angry that she didn't know what to say. Gu Mingzhu was doted on in the Gu family back then, but she couldn't bear to do this. How could Chu Liyue not feel any heartache at all? Then what if you want to become a 5th level Xian master in the future but don't have a Xian formation diagram to study? Oh, I still have one scroll. The demonic beasts in Wanling Mountain had all been killed. Exchanging time with the demonic beasts' cores of essence wouldn't work. As for alchemy, she didn't really want to expose this point now. After thinking about it, the Xian formation diagram was still the most suitable. Mu Hongyu could tell that Chu Liyue couldn't be persuaded at all. She took the nameplate painfully, and her hands were trembling slightly. What kind of big boss did she follow? 2 5th-level Xian formation diagrams were so insignificant in her eyes? Luyu, tell me honestly, do you plan to exchange for the remaining scroll too? Chu Liyue smiled. You even guessed this? 3rd-level Xian formation diagrams can only be exchanged for 2 hours, while 4th-level ones can be exchanged for 20 hours. No matter how I think about it, 5th-level Xian formation diagrams are the most convenient. These should be able to last for a while. After I'm done, I'll just find some more Xian formation diagrams. Lu Yu, Xian formation diagrams are not cabbages. How are you going to find him then? Oh, if I can't find it, I'll just draw one myself. Mu Hongyu cupped her fists in admiration. He's a ruthless person. She had heard that it was very difficult to inscribe Xian formation diagrams, but seeing Chu Liuyue's indifferent expression, as if he didn't take it seriously, Mu Hongyu didn't say anything more. The thought process of a genius was indeed different from that of an ordinary person. Chu Liyue glanced at Mu Hongyu and couldn't help but smile. This matter might seem difficult to others, but to her it couldn't be any easier. Although she was only a level 2 mystic cultivator now, there were more than 10,000 mystic formation diagrams stored in her mind. When the time came, he could just write something down from memory and carve it out. Alright, don't think too much about it. The Qing Jiao competition is coming soon. Prepare well. After saying that, Chu Liyue gave her 40 hours and left with the nameplate. When Chu Liyue returned to his residence, he realized that the usually quiet Shuangqing River had suddenly become a lot more lively. Whether it was by the river or on the bridge, there seemed to be a lot of people. This was especially true when they were all beautiful and graceful women, and their gazes were all looking in a certain direction from time to time. Chu Liyue understood and followed their gazes. Indeed, they were all looking at Yifeng Courtyard. However, he wasn't resting in the courtyard today. But this still couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the women. All of them were looking in that direction with admiration and anticipation. The corners of Chu Liyue's mouth twitched, and he directly walked towards his residence. When he walked through the fragrant crowd and could finally catch his breath, only one word flashed through his mind. Attracting bees and butterflies. Rong Xiao was resting in Yifeng Courtyard that day. Now, it seemed like he did it on purpose. She originally thought that Rong Xiao had always claimed to be sick and didn't have any real power. Even if he was good-looking, there shouldn't be many people who were interested in him. But she seemed to have guessed wrongly. Chu Liyue went up to the 2nd floor and spread out the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. She planned to write down the antidote for the red blood goo poison first. She had seen this poison once in her previous life, but that was when she was very young. At that time, she wasn't a celestial physician yet. She was just following her master around as an assistant. She didn't look at the antidote carefully at that time. Now that such a long time had passed, she only remembered half of it. She needed to think about how to perfect this antidote. The brush was filled with ink, and a faint fragrance of ink spread out. Chu Liyue took a deep breath and smelled the fragrance. She suddenly felt much calmer. Be it the inkstone or the brush, they were both things she liked very much. She suddenly remembered that she hadn't been to the Zhenbao Pavilion for a while. She didn't know if the first master had returned to the capital. If there was time, she really wanted to meet him. Time passed by bit. By the time Chu Luiyue finished writing the antidote, it was already close to evening. She walked to the window and glanced at the sky. The afterglow of the setting sun dyed the horizon with a moving warm color. As if unintentionally, she turned her gaze slightly and looked at the courtyard in the distance. There was still no one in Yifeng courtyard, but it seemed to be much quieter outside. Chu Luiyue felt a little strange. She walked to the other side and took a look. She saw that the previously bustling Shuangqing River was now almost empty. They've all left. Just as Chu Luiyue was feeling puzzled, she saw Yanqing walking across the bridge. She folded the antidote, put it in her arms, and went downstairs. When Yanqing saw Chu Luiyue walking towards her, her heart skipped a beat. She hurriedly said, "Greetings, Miss Luyu." Chu Luiyue asked with a smile, "Yanqing, did you just come back?" "Yes." "Prince Li is living in the academy, and you're the only one serving him?" "Yes." "His Highness wants to be quiet and doesn't want to be too troublesome, so he only brought me." Chu Luiyue nodded in understanding. "Quiet? His Highness's wish is a little difficult. I live nearby and also feel that it's a little noisy." Yanqing froze for a moment. "Miss Liu means?" "Don't worry, this kind of situation won't happen again." Chu Luiyue raised her eyebrows. "I've already told them that His Highness needs to recuperate and hoped that they wouldn't disturb him, so they immediately left. I've already gone out and come back." Yanqing vaguely felt that Chu Luiyue's words sounded cold, so she hurriedly explained. "Oh." There was a smile in Chu Luiyue's eyes, which made Yanqing feel a little guilty. It seems that they're really sincere to His Highness. They just said that he needed to recuperate, and then they all went back obediently, for fear of disturbing him. "Your Highness, Prince Li, you've really attracted countless women." Digression. At about 9:30 p.m., mobile phone users please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from AI. Chapter 189. Yanqing felt that something was wrong. Why did Miss Luyu seem to be angry? Before he could say anything, Chu Luiyue had already left. "Miss Luyu." Yanqing thought for a while and quickly returned to Yifeng courtyard. As soon as he entered, he saw his master reading a book. "Master, Miss Luyu went out just now, and she asked me some questions." Rong Xiu replied with a and turned a page. Seeing his master like this, Yanqing couldn't help muttering in his heart. His master must know what they talked about, but why didn't he react? Did they quarrel with each other? "Master, I've already explained to Ms. Luiyue. She said that you only said one sentence, and those girls left." His master had already done so much to keep himself clean. Why did Miss Luyu look unhappy? Rong Xiu finally looked up from the book and glanced at Yanqing. "Yanqing." "Yes, master." "You haven't married yet, have you?" "I've been with you since I was a child. You know that I haven't married yet." Rong Xiu rubbed between his eyebrows. Yanqing was good at everything, but he was not enlightened when it came to matters between men and women. Fortunately, he was the most suitable person to do this. Seeing his master's expression, Yanqing felt more and more that he had done something wrong. He immediately bowed and asked for forgiveness. "Your Highness, it's my fault. When Miss Luyu comes back, I'll apologize to her in person." Rong Xiu finally couldn't help but smile. "No need. I just want to make her angry." "Ah." Yanqing looked up in surprise and rarely lost his composure. "Master likes Miss Luyu very much, doesn't he?" Logically speaking, he can't wait to make her happy. Why did he deliberately make her angry? "Master, what if Miss Luyu really gets angry? Aren't you the one who will feel sorry for her?" Rong Xiu turned a page and the smile on his face deepened. It's good that he's really angry. Chu Luiyue naturally did not know that Rong Xiu had set a trap for her to jump into. Although Yanqing's words made her feel a little uncomfortable, she quickly put this matter to the back of her mind. Because she had more important things to do now. When they arrived at Zhenbao Pavilion, it was already late and Zhenbao Pavilion was about to close. But when the waiter saw Chu Luiyue, his eyes immediately lit up and he came forward to greet him politely. "Miss Luyu, you're here. Quick, please come in." Ever since Yen Gu generously gave Chu Luiwei a congratulatory gift, everyone in Zhenbao Pavilion knew that they had to treat her well. In addition, Chu Luiwei had asked the people from Zhenbao Pavilion to collect the debt from the Chu family and gave them a generous reward when they returned. Now, the entire Zhenbao Pavilion treated her as a VIP. Chu Luiwei asked as she walked in, "Where's Second Master Yen? Is he not here today?" "He's here." Yen Gu immediately walked out of the cubicle when he heard the voice. When he saw Chu Luiwei, he was both happy and excited. "Miss Lu Yu, what brings you here? I heard that you just came back from Wang Lin Mountain. Are you feeling better now?" Chu Luiwei smiled. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, Second Master Yen. Don't mention it. I wanted to visit you when I had the chance, but after Miss Lu Yu came back, she went straight back to the academy. We didn't want to disturb you, right?" Yen Gu thought that since that person had come personally, she would definitely be fine. "I appreciate Second Master Yan's kindness. I'm here today because I have something to trouble you with." Chu Luiwei handed over a piece of paper as she spoke. "Do you have the herbs listed here in Zhenbao Pavilion?" On that piece of paper, only a portion of the herbs in the prescription was written. Yen Gu took the paper. When he saw the words on it clearly, his expression turned serious instantly. After a long while, he finally sighed. "Miss Lu Yu, it's fine if you don't come. But when you do, you've given us such a huge problem. None of the things listed here are easy to find. That's why I'm here. Heaven Pharmacy might have these things, but if she went there, Zhuorong and the rest would definitely realize that something was amiss. She did it on purpose the last time to lure the snake out of its hole. But it was different this time. She didn't want others to know that she could cure the red blood goo. She had solved a problem that even the celestial physician in the college couldn't solve. Wasn't she creating trouble for herself?" Yen Gu pondered for a moment and immediately understood Chu Luiwei's intention. He found it strange that she didn't come the last time. But now, it seemed that she had other plans. "All right, I'll go to the storeroom now and prepare these things for you. But we don't have 2 of the herbs here at the moment. I'm afraid you'll have to wait for a while." Chu Luiwei's expression was calm, but she was shocked on the inside. All the herbs listed were extremely precious. She had thought that it would be good enough if she could find 3 or 4 of them here. She didn't expect that they only lacked 2 of them. Moreover, he asked her to wait. Didn't this mean that they had the means to get these herbs? She knew that Zhenbao Pavilion had a strong background and was definitely not just a simple shop. But now it seemed that it was even more unfathomable than she had expected. "Thank you, Second Master Yen." Chu Luiwei thanked him and asked in a seemingly casual manner, "Oh yes, I wonder if your first master has returned to the capital?" Yen Gu paused for a moment and laughed again. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Recently, First Master has been busy accompanying Madam, so he doesn't have time for now." "Accompanying Madam?" Chu Luiwei was a little surprised. But after thinking about it, it was normal for such a powerful figure to have a madam. "I didn't expect your first master to be so considerate to Madam. Their relationship should be very good, right?" Yen Gu coughed. "More than considerate?" It was as if he had sacrificed himself. But this relationship, if he said that First Master had not won Madam's heart yet, how would she react? Of course. Our Madam is the most outstanding woman in the world. Our First Master has always treated her like a treasure." Yen Gu laughed and avoided Chu Luiwei's gaze. Saying this in front of this person was First Master not afraid of angering this person in the future by keeping it a secret? Forget it, let's not care about that. Anyway, it was always good to praise her now. If she pursued the matter in the future, it would be a bonus. If you have the chance to meet her in the future, you will know that I'm not lying. Digression, February, what a wave of flattery. Second Master Yen, your desire to live is really strong. Much stronger than your First Master. Second Master Yen, Yen Qing, Master, someone seems to be scolding you for courting death. Rongxiu. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from LoveNet. Chapter 190. Chu Luiwei was even more curious about this first master and his wife. Actually, she had unintentionally heard a rumor that the first master of Zhenbao Pavilion had specially cancelled the auction that was supposed to be held in order to pick a gift for his wife. He had even offended many influential people in the capital because of this. Even Chu Luiwei was secretly amazed by such an action. One must know that to these wealthy people, money was not the most important thing. The most important thing was face. Nothing much had happened in the end. Firstly, Zhenbao Pavilion's status was high and they did not dare to fall out with it. Secondly, Zhenbao Pavilion had given them a generous compensation which could be considered as giving them a way out. This was the only way they could get through this crisis peacefully. The first master of Zhenbao Pavilion was really rich and generous. He was even more sincere towards his wife. Alright, I hope there will be such an opportunity in the future. After Chu Luiwei finished speaking, she discussed the medicinal herbs with Yan Gu and reminded him of some details. The page boy quickly brought the medicinal herbs over. Chu Luiwei looked at the big and small boxes and felt a little troubled. If she brought these items to the academy with great fanfare, it would definitely attract the attention of many people. If teachers were Rong knew, he would definitely come to investigate. By then, it would be difficult for her to explain herself. If she said it, she would definitely be suspected. If she did not say it, it would be even more strange for her to come to Zhenbao Pavilion instead of the Academy's Heaven Medicine Pavilion. Yan Gu glanced at her carefully and asked with a double meaning, "What are you talking about?" "Miss Lu Yu, I'm afraid it will be troublesome for you to bring these back alone?" Chu Luiwei nodded calmly. She still had many medicinal herbs to use in the future. She could not be so ostentatious every time. "Second Master Yan, do you have anything here that would allow me to conveniently bring these items back?" "You mean, a Cosmos bag? Zhenbao Pavilion even has this?" Chu Luiwei looked up in surprise. She had only asked casually. She did not expect it to really exist. Our treasure pavilion doesn't lack Qiankuan bags. Otherwise, it would be difficult to bring back so many items, right?" Yan Gu laughed heartily. "Old Lu, go get a Qiankuan bag for Miss Lu Yu." The manservant at the side hurriedly responded and quickly brought the things over. "Miss Lu Yu, please." Yan Gu took the Cosmos sack and handed it to Chu Luiwei. "You only need to inject a trace of your force into it, and this Cosmos sack will be yours." Chu Luiwei picked up the Qiankuan bag and examined it carefully. This Qiankuan pouch was only half the size of a palm. It was completely golden in color and was embroidered with exquisite silver cloud patterns. It looked very exquisite. Qiankuan bags were also divided into different grades. The higher the grade, the larger the space within the Qiankuan bag. She tentatively injected a trace of origin power. Hearing a faint sound in her mind, she immediately felt that there was a subtle connection between her and the Qiankuan bag. She controlled her primordial spirit to take a look and was shocked to find that the space in the Qiankuan bag was as big as a room. This was a few times bigger than teachers were Rong's. She widened her eyes slightly and looked at Yan Gu. "Second Master Yan, this is too expensive. I can't accept it. I've already given it to you. How can I take it back? Moreover, you'll be coming here often in the future. If this Qiankuan bag is bigger, it'll be more convenient for both of us, right?" Chu Luiwei hesitated. Yan Ji's words were not without reason. She would indeed need this Qiankuan bag in the future for many reasons. "Then, name a price." Chu Luiwei pointed at the pile of herbs at the side. "Add these in, and I'll settle the bill for you." At this moment, Chu Luiwei was incomparably glad that she had gone to the Chu family to create a ruckus and snatched back the money that belonged to her and her father. Otherwise, she would not be able to afford anything here today. Yan Gu coughed. His master's wife came here to take things. How could she have the money? She was willing to give, but he did not dare to. However, since his master had not revealed his identity, he naturally had to follow along. "Well, you see, you're already a VIP of Zhenbao Pavilion. Of course, we have to give you a discount. These herbs and the Qiankuan bag, you just need to give me 300,000 taels of silver." Chu Luiwei weighed the items in her hands. "Second Master Yan, Are you not going to continue this business? From what I know, just this Qiankuan bag alone is worth more than 600,000 taels of silver, right? In addition to these herbs, I don't feel at ease if you only ask for 300,000 taels of silver. Yen Gu was instantly embarrassed. How about this? I'll give you 1,000,000 taels of silver first. When the remaining 2 herbs are replenished, I'll give you another 500,000 taels of silver. How about that? Yen Gu widened his eyes. This is not good. What's not good about it? You get what you pay for. This is the money that I should give. It's settled then. Otherwise, I won't dare to do business with you again next time. Seeing Chu Liuyue's firm attitude, Yen Gu could only agree. Alright, I'll listen to you. Chu Liyue nodded in satisfaction. She put the herbs into the Qiankuan bag and left. After returning to the academy, Chu Liyue returned to her residence directly. After clearing out the items in the Qiankuan bag, she finally heaved a sigh of relief. The medicine that she refined for Liao Zhongshu previously could only help to temporarily suppress the poison. After 7 days, if there was no antidote, the poison would directly erupt. By then, it would directly take Liao Zhongshu's life. Therefore, she had to refine the antidote for the red blood goo in the remaining 7 days. This was not easy for the current Chu Liyue. A real celestial physician actually relied on the force in their body to refine medicine. The more abundant the force, the better the effect of refining medicine. She was only a stage 1 warrior now. Even if she had the Daijing Yuan Meridian, it was not possible for her to successfully refine it in one go. It was very likely that the force in her body would be exhausted before she could even refine it halfway. Therefore, she had to think of a way. Chu Liyue unconsciously walked to the window and looked outside. At this time, the sky was already dark. Everything was submerged under the dark curtain of night and could not be seen clearly. Rong Xiu was not in the courtyard. Chu Liyue heaved a sigh of relief, but for some reason she faintly felt a sense of loss in her heart. With Rong Xiu's identity and status, who knew how many noble ladies in the imperial city wanted to climb up to him? Moreover, he had such a magnificent appearance. Even if he was a sickly person in everyone's eyes, there were still waves of women who wanted to marry into the Prince Li's residence. Needless to say, he was actually a person with tyrannical strength and extraordinary means. Perhaps, just as she was thinking about this, a melodious whistle suddenly came from Yi Feng courtyard. Chu Liyue was stunned. That was Rong Xiu blowing the peach leaf whistle? The faint sense of loss in her heart suddenly dissipated. She pursed her lips, but the corners of her eyes and brows were tinged with a hint of a smile. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 191. It was a sleepless night. From the 2nd day onwards, Chu Liyue started to process those herbs. She was unable to refine the antidote for the red blood goo in one go, so she planned to do it step by step. She would first settle the more troublesome herbs before mixing them together. In this way, as long as the herbs were well preserved, the success rate would still be high. Also, it would not attract attention. Chu Liyue locked herself in her room and did not come out for 2 days and 2 nights. On the 4th day, Zhenbao Pavilion finally sent the remaining 2 herbs over. As the packaging was very tight, no one guessed that they were herbs sent over. They just thought that Chu Liyue had bought something from Zhenbao Pavilion. Everyone in the imperial city knew that Chu Liyue had a close relationship with Zhenbao Pavilion. Since he was able to book the entire Phoenix restaurant for her back then, it was not surprising that he would send her something now. After Chu Liyue gathered the herbs, she locked herself in her room again to refine the antidote. As she had instructed Mu Hongyu and the rest before, they did not come to disturb her. However, the rest of the people in the school were secretly puzzled. Meditation class. Si Yang looked at the chessboard in front of him and rubbed his head. Sigh. This Xian formation is too difficult. Mr. Dongfang Qing could not help but laugh. Although this golden wood formation is a level 3 Xian formation, the difficulty of deciphering it is almost comparable to a level 4 Xian formation. It's normal that you find it difficult. However, if you can decipher it, it means that you are not far from becoming a level 4 Xian master. Many students were finally excited when they heard this. However, Xiang wailed. Level 4 Xian master? How could it be so easy to break through? He could not help but look at the 2 empty seats beside him with a dejected expression. Since yesterday, Si Ting had stopped coming. As the Qing Jiao competition was approaching, elder son had high hopes for Si Ting and had already sent him into seclusion. As for Chu Luiyue, she had not come even once after returning from Wanling Mountain. Si Yang, you have to work hard and obtain a good ranking in the Qing Jiao competition. Dongfang Qing had high hopes for Si Yang, especially now that Si Ting and Chu Luiyue were not around and Gu Mingzhu was dead. Si Yang was the only one left in the top 4. Si Yang smiled bitterly. Teacher Dongfang, you think too highly of me. If I had Big Brother's talent, I would definitely think that there would be no problem. The point is, I don't have it. You should be the one saying that to Chu Luiyue. Dongfang Qing coughed. She didn't come, did she? The mention of Chu Luiyue immediately attracted the attention of the other students. Everyone began to discuss in low voices. Yes. She hasn't been here for a long time, but I heard that she goes to Jiuyou Tower quite frequently. Ah? Is she going to participate in the Qing Jiao competition as a martial artist? It's not impossible. After all, Si Ting was suppressing the Xian masters, but she was number 1 in martial arts. If she wants to be safe, it's normal for her to choose a martial artist. I think she must be preparing for the Qing Jiao competition since she hasn't been here for the past few days. Si Yang stretched his body. She will be participating in both competitions. Everyone's discussion stopped abruptly. The Qing Jiao competition is a competition between schools. Instead of being jealous, why don't you focus on cultivating? That way, you won't be a burden to the school. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, another few days had passed. The room was filled with a strong medicinal fragrance. Chu Luiyue had already put in all the herbs in the square cauldron. She only needed to fuse them together. Chu Luiyue took a deep breath as she looked at the colorful mess inside. This last step was the most important. With her current abilities, it was a little difficult for her to do it. But no matter what, she had to try. Today was the last day. If she couldn't make the antidote successfully, Liao Zhongshu would definitely die. And there would be no clues about the person behind this. Chu Luiyue pressed her hands on the square cauldron and held her breath in concentration. Rich force gushed out from her palms and poured into the cauldron. Boom! A blazing red flame rose into the air. It instantly enveloped the mess. Chu Luiyue carefully controlled her strength and fused the herbs bit by bit. Because there were too many herbs, her force was quickly depleting. However, it was not easy to perfectly fuse medicinal herbs with different medicinal properties. Moreover, this was the first time she was trying to make the antidote for the red blood goo on her own after so many years. Therefore, even she was a little uncertain in her heart. After some time, the herbs of different colors finally started to fuse together. Chu Luiyue's back was drenched in sweat. Seeing that the herbs had finally fused, Chu Luiyue did not relax. Instead, she became even more nervous. This was because she realized that this step was depleting her force at an even faster rate. The force in her body was almost completely depleted. But if she wanted to complete the antidote, she would need more force to support it. Celestial Physician was different from Xian masters and martial artists. Celestial Physician could transform force into flames, but Xian masters and martial artists could not. Moreover, even if there were other people supporting her with force, it would be useless and could not be transformed into flames for refining the antidote. Now, she could only rely on herself. Time passed by slowly. Chu Luiyue clearly felt that the force in her body was completely depleted. The flame in the square cauldron was rapidly shrinking and was about to extinguish. Once it stopped, it would definitely fail. It did not matter if these herbs were depleted, but the antidote would definitely not be completed. Her vision turned black, and she almost could not stand steadily. She could not fail at the last step. Chu Luiyue bit the tip of her tongue, and the sharp pain made her sober. However, there was no more force in her body. Her hands gripped the square cauldron tightly, and her knuckles turned white. Her internal organs seemed to have been tightly squeezed into a ball. Her heart was gradually drowned in despair. Could it really not work, Buzz? A buzzing sound suddenly came from her danton. The water droplet that was floating in her dantian suddenly started to move. A slight ripple appeared on the smooth surface of the water. In an instant, a majestic force surged into her limbs and bones. Chu Luiyue immediately reacted. Without thinking, she transformed all the force into flames and poured it into the square cauldron. The flame that was about to extinguish rose again, and the herbs inside were fusing at an extraordinary speed. Chu Luiyue stared intently at the square cauldron. Those herbs were rapidly refined and fused, and they quickly condensed into a ball that was the size of a fist. Chu Luiyue widened her eyes in shock, because this was the sign of pill formation. There were countless doctors in the world, but celestial physician was as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. The biggest difference between them was whether they could form pills. Generally speaking, only a doctor who broke through to become a fourth-grade doctor could become a true celestial physician. And this step was also the huge gap that prevented countless doctors from becoming celestial physician. She originally thought that her current strength was limited and could not form pills, so she had always been preparing to refine soup. Although there was a difference in the medicinal effect, it was not a problem to detoxify the poison. But now, boom! A formless fluctuation spread out from the light brown pill. Digression, Great Ant Raging. 3 chapters updated at 3 p.m. Love mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 192. At this moment, a silver stream of light flew in from outside and instantly transformed into a huge barrier that enveloped the square cauldron. At the same time, a strong arm wrapped around Chu Liyue's slender waist and pulled her away from the square cauldron. Buzz! The violent power slammed heavily into the silver barrier, emitting a dull thud. Ripples started to appear on the spirit formation. As the ripples spread out, the muffled sound was quickly suppressed and completely disappeared. The room quickly quieted down as if nothing had happened. Chu Liyue's heart was still beating rapidly as a low chuckle sounded by her ear. So ostentatious. Do you want everyone to come and snatch you from this prince? The only person who could quickly appear at this time was Rong Xiao and no one else. Leaning against his broad and warm chest, Chu Liyue's wild heartbeat seemed to be soothed by an indescribable force and gradually calmed down. Looking at the square cauldron that was completely enveloped by the silver barrier, she suddenly released a sigh of relief. When the pill was formed, it caused a huge commotion and would definitely attract attention. Once it was discovered, she closed her eyes. Many thanks. Rong Xiao heard that there was something wrong with her voice and tilted his head to take a look. He saw that her face was exceptionally pale. His eyes darkened slightly. This was clearly because she had overdrawn her strength when refining the pill, causing her to collapse. Was it worth it to do this for an unrelated person? If this prince didn't come, what did you plan to do? Chu Luiyue was stunned for a moment. She raised her eyes to look at him but saw that his expression was somewhat unfathomable. It seemed like he was angry. Chu Luiyue blinked and unconsciously reached out to grab the front of his clothes. Your Highness really won't come? In the dark night, the candlelight was brilliant, but it could not compare to the thousands of years of flowing light in her eyes, which were as bright as the galaxy. Her tone was very normal, but in Rong Xiao's ears, it was more moving than any music. The trace of unhappiness in his heart quickly dissipated and was replaced by dense joy. Are you sure you can defeat me? The corners of Chu Liyue's mouth curled up slightly. She snorted softly and pushed his embrace away. That's not it. However, today's matter can be considered as atonement for your Highness' mistakes. Make amends? What did I do wrong? Your Highness knows this better than anyone else. Do you still need me to say more? At first, she didn't think much of it, but a few days later, when she thought about it again, she felt that something was wrong. What kind of person was Rong Xiu? If he didn't want to be disturbed by those women, then he naturally had a way to prevent them from appearing in front of him. But that day, it was Yan Qing who came forward and asked those people to leave. There was nothing wrong with this, but it was not Rong Xiu's style. She calmed herself down and thought for a moment before she could roughly guess what was going on. Rong Xiu did not deny it. She had always been the smartest. We haven't seen each other for a few days and you has been thinking about this prince? Chu Luiwei glanced at him, too lazy to say anything. In any case, this person's skin had always been the thickest. She walked in front of the square cauldron and seriously looked at the silver barrier. Your Highness, you have quite a lot of good things. This colored glass barrier is priceless. The so-called colored glass barrier was a special origin tool. As long as a trace of origin power was injected, it could be activated and form an incomparably sturdy barrier. In times of crisis, this colored glass barrier was quite useful. The commotion caused by the formation of a fourth-grade pill was actually annihilated in an instant. Rong Xiu raised his hand and the barrier flickered with silver light. Then, it quickly retracted and formed a longan-sized silver bead. If you like it, I'll give it to you. Chu Luiwei walked in front of the square cauldron and took the pill in her hand. The fluctuations during the formation of the pill had already been blocked by the colored glass barrier. Now that it had stopped, there was no problem. She put the pill in a jade box beside her and paused when she heard Rong Xiu's words. She wanted to refuse, but the colored glaze barrier was indeed very useful to her right now. Because she could already form pills now, she wouldn't be able to hide it if something like this happened again in the future. Most importantly, she suspected that her ability to form pills might have something to do with the water droplet in her body. She still couldn't fully control that water droplet at the moment. Who knew what kind of commotion it would cause in the future? After some thought, she looked at Rong Xiu. Then, Your Highness, please state your price. Rong Xiu raised his brows and walked over. He took her hand and placed the colored glass barrier in her hand. I said I'll give it to you, so I'll give it to you. Chu Luiwei refused to accept it. Your Highness, I can't take your things for free. You've already owed this prince so many times. One more won't make a difference. Rong Xiu said as he held her hand tightly. Chu Luiwei was speechless for a moment. That's true, other than these valuable treasures, she still owed Rong Xiu a few lives. I don't have anything else I want now, so just remember it for now. It won't be too late for you to repay me when I remember it in the future. Chu Luiwei took a deep breath and accepted the item without hesitation. Thank you, Your Highness. Rong Xiu looked at her and suddenly asked, Oh, right. I heard that you're going to participate in the Qin Jiao competition? Chu Luiwei wasn't surprised that he knew about this and nodded. Rong Xiu narrowed his eyes. I'll be leaving the academy tomorrow and will be back after some time. You must be careful when you're alone. Chu Luiwei asked curiously. Leaving the academy? What are you going to do? The moment she said that, she felt that it was inappropriate for her to ask. Rong Xiu was mysterious and powerful. He wasn't what he looked like on the surface. She really didn't have the right to ask what he was going to do. However, Rong Xiu seemed to be very happy when he heard this. His thin lips curled up slightly as he pinched her face. This matter involves a lot of things. I'll tell you about it when I'm back. A strange feeling flashed across Chu Luiwei's heart. Rong Xiu seemed like a husband talking to his wife before he left. She turned her gaze away and responded faintly. Since I'm leaving tomorrow, I'll be sleeping here tonight. You don't have any objections, right? Chu Luiwei was speechless. I shouldn't have thought about all those things just now. To think that I still had a trace of worry in my heart. Now, it seems that it was completely unnecessary. Rong Xiu was the one who bullied others. How could others bully him? Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 193. That night, Rong Xiu slept beside Chu Luiwei as usual and hugged her for the entire night. Chu Luiwei felt a little awkward at first, but to no avail. She could only let him do as he pleased. However, she fell asleep very quickly, perhaps because she had overdrawn her energy. On the other hand, Rong Xiu hugged her and spent the night energetically. The next morning, when Chu Luiwei woke up, Rong Xiu had already left. She had a good sleep, and the feeling of exhaustion in her body had already dissipated. She had completely recovered. She thought that she would need to rest for a few days, but now, it seemed that she didn't need to. Chu Luiwei walked to the window and looked at Yi Feng Courtyard thoughtfully. At this moment, Yi Feng Courtyard's door was locked. It was obvious that no one was there. She frowned slightly. What could have happened that made Rong Xiu leave so urgently? On the way, Chu Luiwei could clearly feel that the atmosphere in the academy seemed to have become much more tense. The Qing Jiao competition was just around the corner, and everyone wanted to do well in the competition. It was no wonder that everyone was so excited and looking forward to it. Chu Luiwei went to Liao Zhongshu's residence alone. He was the only one left living here, and it seemed especially cold and cheerless. Chu Luiwei pushed the door open and entered. She immediately saw Liao Zhongshu lying lifelessly on the bed. She didn't wake him up when she entered, and his eyes were still tightly shut. Chu Luiwei walked to the bedside and took his pulse. She frowned deeply. Although she had given Liao Zhongshu some medicine previously, the effect was limited. Now that the medicine had almost worn off, the poison in his body could erupt at any time. His primordial energy was greatly damaged, and it was difficult for him to hold on. Chu Luiwei called out to him, "Liao Zhongshu, wake up." The person on the bed didn't respond. She gently pushed him. After a while, Liao Zhongshu slowly woke up. However, his complexion was even worse than a few days ago. His eyes had also become dim and lifeless, as if he would stop breathing at any moment. Seeing that it was Chu Luiwei, Liao Zhongshu's eyes flickered, and he struggled to get up. But how could he have any strength left? Chu Luiwei pressed on his shoulder. "Don't move, just take the antidote." As he spoke, he passed the pill over. Liao Zhongshu was shocked when he saw that it wasn't a medicinal soup, but a pill that could only be refined by a real celestial physician. This is the antidote you asked for?" His voice was very weak. If it weren't for Chu Luiwei's sharp hearing, he probably wouldn't have heard it. Chu Luiwei paused and did not deny it. "Yes." Liao Zhongshu did not suspect anything and swallowed the pill. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth, and a gentle yet majestic power immediately spread through his body. After taking the antidote, the remaining poison will be expelled within a day. However, your body has suffered too much damage. You still need to rest for about a month before you can fully recover. Liao Zhongshu looked at Chu Luiwei gratefully. "I don't know how I can repay you for your kindness." Chu Luiwei shook his head and said, "This matter is not related to you. Speaking of which, this matter is also related to me. It's just that they attacked you first. Curing you is what I should do." A look of horror flashed across Liao Zhongshu's eyes. "I don't know who's behind this, so I need your help now." Liao Zhongshu nodded vigorously. "Zhongshu will definitely help you without hesitation." Chu Luiwei briefly told him about how he bumped into Chu Xianmin, but he did not say that he made the pill himself. He only said that he took it from Chu Xianmin. "So, you can't let others know that you've recovered during this period. Just tell them that you're hanging on to life with some medicinal soup. If the other party suspects something, they'll definitely appear again. That way we can lure them out." Liao Zhongshu understood. "I understand. Don't worry. I won't go out during this period. I'll just pretend that I'm still poisoned. And you can use this time to recuperate. Other than helping you clear the poison, this pill can also nourish your body. However, I'll still have to trouble you." Liao Zhongshu smiled. "It's all because of you that I'm still alive. How can this small matter be considered trouble? Don't worry. If anything happens, I'll tell you immediately." Chu Luiwei heaved a sigh of relief. Time passed day by day, and it was the day before the Qing Jiao competition in the blink of an eye. The other two academies had already arrived, and the imperial city became increasingly lively. Wutong Palace, the palace. Emperor Zhouwen and the Empress were eating. The palace was very quiet. The Empress looked up at Emperor Zhouwen from time to time, wanting to say something. Today was the first time that Emperor Zhou had stayed with her in a while, so she was very happy. She wanted to plead for the crown prince, but she was afraid of making Emperor Zhou unhappy. She previously asked Chu Xiao to plead for the crown prince, but he was harshly reprimanded. Thus, she didn't dare to act rashly until now. Just say what you want to say, Emperor Zhou said lightly. The empress hesitated for a while but still spoke. Your Majesty, the Qing Jiao competition is about to start. Do you want the crown prince to return to the academy and participate in the competition? Emperor Zhao's gaze turned cold. You really want to plead for him? The empress hurriedly said, Your Majesty, I'm not doing this for the crown prince. I'm doing this for you. This Qing Jiao competition concerns the country's reputation. If Tianlu Academy loses, you'll lose face too. Seeing that Emperor Zhao's expression was solemn, but he didn't interrupt her, the empress felt more at ease. Especially since the Qing Jiao competition is being held in the imperial city this year. If we lose, won't it look even worse? The crown prince is in the wrong, but he's young and impulsive. Are you really not going to forgive him? Other things aside, there aren't many people in Tianlu Academy who can compare to the crown prince. Do you think you can let him atone for his mistakes? Emperor Zhao rubbed his glabella. Actually, his anger had dissipated quite a bit during this period. Besides, he had also thought about what the empress said. Since you've spoken, I'll give the crown prince a chance. The empress hurriedly knelt and thanked him. Thank you, Your Majesty. Emperor Zhao didn't want to say anything else, so he asked her to stand up. How far he can go is his own business. How's Zhenzhen doing? The empress's smile faded, and a tinge of sadness appeared between her brows. Ever since Zhenzhen's pearl of essence was destroyed, she's been very sad. She's been staying in her bedroom all this time and refuses to come out. Your Majesty, you know that Zhenzhen used to be very outstanding in all aspects. Now that she's suffered such a blow, she's naturally upset. When I went to see her, I saw her secretly crying a few times. As the empress spoke, she also started crying. Emperor Zhao sighed. It wasn't that he didn't love his daughter. How could he not feel upset when he heard this? It's not a solution to be like this all the time. Forget it. Go and tell her that when the Qing Jiao competition starts, I'll find another celestial physician for her and see if they can help her. The empress wiped her tears and said gratefully, I'll thank Your Majesty first. Then this concubine will thank Your Majesty on behalf of Zhenzhen. Love Network provided a better reading experience. Chapter 194. After dinner, Emperor Zhao stood up to leave. The empress was shocked. Your Majesty, aren't you staying here today? Emperor Zhao's expression was calm. It's almost October. The empress's heart skipped a beat, and she felt complicated. October. It was nothing to others, but it was special to Emperor Zhao. This was because concubine one had died in October. All these years, Emperor Zhao's mood would be especially gloomy around October, and he would never stay with the concubines in the palace. It wasn't that she didn't know about this rule, but Emperor Zhao had promised to let the crown prince out and to find a celestial physician for the fourth princess. She was so happy that she forgot about it. Your Majesty, please forgive me for my negligence. The empress lowered her head and hid the hatred that flashed across her eyes. Emperor Zhao waved his hands. Go and see Zhenzhen. After saying that, he lifted his foot and left. The huge palace fell silent again. The surrounding servants bowed their heads and didn't dare to make a sound, afraid of offending the empress. In the palace, everyone knew that although the empress was the head of the 6 palaces and had the most distinguished status, she couldn't even compare to Consort Wan, who only appeared briefly. There was a place in His Majesty's heart that no one else could replace, including the empress. It was fine normally, but today, it was like slapping the empress in front of everyone. After a long and torturous silence, the empress took a deep breath and looked up again. She had regained her usual dignity and dignity. I'll go and see the fourth princess. Once the empress reached Rong Zhen's bedroom, she saw a group of servants kneeling outside. They all looked pained as if they were suffering great torture, but they didn't dare to make a sound. Rongzhen was sitting at the entrance of the bedroom and looking at these people fiercely. When she saw the empress, panic flashed across her face, and she hurriedly stood up. "Mother, why are you here?" The empress frowned. "Your father asked me to come and see you. What are you doing?" She took a closer look and smelled a faint scent of blood. Rongzhen hurriedly said, "Didn't you set it up? They just made a mistake, so I'm just punishing them." The empress didn't believe it and looked at the palace servants. "All of you, get up." The person in front tried to stand up, but the moment he moved, he fell to the ground. He hugged his knees and wailed. Only then did the empress realize that the man's knee was pierced with rusty nails. She quickly looked around and found that the others were doing the same. She suppressed the anger in her heart. "Everyone go back and rest. This consort will send someone to treat your injuries." Fourth princess has been in a bad mood recently, so it's inevitable that her temper is a bit irritable. However, this consort does not wish for anyone to know about this matter, understood? Everyone hurriedly responded and helped him down. The empress looked at Rongzhen. "Come in with me." Rongzhen knew that she was in the wrong, so she could only follow him in. After the door was locked, the empress finally spoke with a sullen face. "What the hell are you doing? How many times have I told you not to do this again? What would your father think if he knew?" Rongzhen looked away. "Imperial father doesn't care about my life anymore. I'm just a cripple now, so why would he care about me?" The empress suppressed the anger in her heart. "Your father has already agreed to help you find a celestial physician when the Qing Jiao competition starts. Even if they can't do anything, the envoy from the Tianling dynasty is already on his way. He'll be able to treat you then. You must make your father's heart ache for you now, not hate you." Rongzhen was shocked. "Really? Of course. Also, more importantly, your father has already agreed to let your brother out. As long as he can shine at the Qing Jiao competition, he'll definitely be valued by your father again. At such a crucial time, you mustn't cause trouble." Rongzhen's expression changed and she hurriedly said, "I understand. I definitely won't let you worry." As she spoke, she carefully leaned over and hugged the empress's arm. "I knew that mother treats me the best." Even though the empress was angry, her heart still ached for her daughter. She caressed her hair and persuaded her. There might be a way to treat a damaged pearl of essence. Look at Chu Luiyue. She was born with a damaged yuan meridian, but didn't she recover it now? Upon hearing this, a thought flashed across Rongzhen's mind. "That's right. Mother, how could we forget about this?" She excitedly shook the empress's arm. Back then, didn't all the celestial physician in country Yaochen say that Chu Luiyue's yuan meridian couldn't be repaired? But not only did she recover, but she even became a genius. "Mother, there must be a problem with Chu Luiyue." The empress slightly knitted her brows. "You mean, why don't we find Chu Luiyue and ask her how she recovered? I'm guessing that there must be a mysterious master behind her. If she calls that person over, I might be able to be cured." "What you said makes sense. I didn't think of that before." The empress was deep in thought. "But we don't have a good relationship with Chu Luiyue. She might not agree to this." Rongzhen didn't think much of it. "So what if she doesn't agree? She's just the daughter of the Imperial Guard's commander-in-chief. Is she not going to listen to us?" The empress was a little hesitant. She remembered that Chu Luiyue's relationship with Zhenbao Pavilion wasn't simple. "We should be more careful about this. Why don't you follow me to the Qing Jiao competition tomorrow and talk to her about this? It'll be best if she's willing to help." "If not," Rongzhen sneered. "It's not up to her to refuse." Mobile users, please browse to read A Better Reading Experience from Love Network. Chapter 195. Imperial City. It was autumn and the weather was refreshing. The annual Qing Jiao competition started under everyone's fervent anticipation. The Qing Jiao competition was jointly organized by the three countries, and it was very prestigious. Those who could come here were the top geniuses of their respective countries. Hence, not only could the crowd watch exciting competitions at the Qingjiao competition, but they could also see the geniuses compete with each other. This wasn't just a competition between the three academies, it was also a hidden competition between the three countries. Especially since this year's competition was held in country Yaochen, everyone in Tianlu Academy put in their best effort and planned to achieve the best results in the Qingjiao competition. Early in the morning, other than a small number of people who stayed behind to guard the academy, the rest of the people gathered together and headed to Jianan Square in the Imperial City. Jianan Square was one of the most famous squares in the Imperial City. It took up a lot of space, and it was personally supervised by Taizu, who founded country Yaochen. Many important competitions in the Imperial City were held here. Naturally, this place was chosen for this year's Qingjiao competition. After Chu Luiwei arrived with the rest of the academy, he was quickly arranged to sit in a specific area. After settling down in his seat, Chu Luiwei then had the chance to carefully size up the huge Jianan Square. The square was circular, and in the middle was a huge arena made of white marble. It was surrounded by rows of seats. At a glance, it could accommodate at least 10,000 people. At that moment, those seats were densely packed with people. The entire square was very lively, and the sounds of discussion could be heard. Chu Luiwei and the rest's seats weren't at the edge but beside the square arena. Chu Luiwei especially took a look at the purplish gold seat in the east. The other three directions had rows of green wooden seats. It was obvious that the purplish gold seat was reserved for Emperor Zhuan. Normally, Emperor Zhuan wouldn't show up during the preliminary round. He would only appear during the finals. The seat was placed there to show respect for Emperor Zhuan. Everyone knew that Emperor Zhuan definitely wouldn't come on the first day, so the atmosphere in the square was very lively and relaxed. The green wooden chairs in the other three areas were obviously reserved for the respective academies. The elders and teachers of the academy sat in the first two rows. From the third row onward, the students were seated, and this order, from the front to the back, was based on the number of years. Chu Luiwei and the others were freshmen, so they naturally sat at the back. As for the freshmen' seats, they were very particular. The celestial physicians sat at the front, while the warriors sat at the back. Chu Luiwei sat in the middle of the mystic cultivator area. Sitting at the very front was a young man. The young man looked to be no more than 15 or 16 years old. His features were delicate and pretty, and his skin was excessively white. Under the light of the sun, it even seemed a little translucent. His expression was distant, and there was a faint cold and arrogant aura around him. Needless to say, that young man should be the most talented celestial physician among the freshmen, Meng Zixiao. Meng Zixiao was not from the imperial capital. He came from an ordinary background, but his talent was excellent. He was highly regarded in the academy. It was said that he was very diligent. Chu Luiwei had been in the academy for so long, but today was the first time she saw him. Of course, the celestial physician students were somewhat arrogant. They cultivated in different places, so it was not easy to meet them. As if sensing her gaze, Meng Zixiao, who was quietly watching the competition, suddenly turned around. The two of them looked at each other. Chu Luiwei nodded politely, but Meng Zixiao's expression changed slightly. It seemed a little probing. Chu Luiwei was taken aback, but she saw that Meng Zixiao had already turned around. "Hey, Luyu, you know Meng Zixiao?" Xiyang could not help but ask. Chu Luiwei shook her head. "I don't know him." "Then why is he looking at you so strangely?" "He's teachers were Rong's disciple, and he's the most promising celestial physician in our cohort. He's usually very arrogant." Hearing Zhuo Rong's name, Chu Luiwei had a guess. Could it be that teachers Zhuo Rong told Meng Zixiao about her going to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion? That's why he has such an attitude? Chu Luiwei was thinking when a deep and powerful voice suddenly sounded. "The Huaitsang Nation's Nanfeng Academy has arrived." This voice contained force, and it reverberated throughout the entire square, clearly falling into everyone's ears. There was a commotion as everyone looked in that direction. They saw a majestic group walking in from the entrance of the square. They were wearing navy blue academy uniforms, and there were 3 white lines embroidered on the left side of their chests. The person leading the group was an elder who looked to be in his 50s or 60s. His hair was white, but he was hale and hearty. Especially his eyes, which were not cloudy like an ordinary elder's. Instead, they were very clear. It was obvious that his cultivation was very high. Sun Zhongyan immediately went forward to welcome him. "Ha! Brother Yunshan, you're finally here." Fu Yunshan's face was also filled with joy. "Brother Zhongyan, long time no see. How have you been?" The two of them greeted each other and seemed to be very friendly with each other. "I heard that you arrived in the Imperial City yesterday. I wanted to visit you personally, but I thought that you must be tired from the journey, so I didn't disturb you." "Brother Yunshan, you don't mind, right?" "Ah, of course. Hey, why don't I see Elder Yi today?" "The dean is in seclusion and hasn't come out yet. So, I'm in charge of everything in the Qing Jiao competition." "I see." A tinge of disappointment flashed across Fu Yunshan's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. "Brother Yunshan, your seats are over there." "Please," Fu Yunshan laughed. "Brother Zhongyan, you're always reliable. Shall we go over first?" Okay. Sun Zhongyan immediately nodded. Only then did Fu Yunshan bring the students to his own school. They had just sat down when the voice sounded again. "Country of Xing Luo's Tai Yen Academy has arrived." The square, which had just quieted down, became lively again. Chu Luiwei looked around in confusion. Why do I feel that the square is livelier than before? With a cursory glance, one could see the unconcealable excitement and anticipation on many people's faces. Even the people around her seemed a little excited. She looked at Si Yang and asked softly, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Is there something special about Tai Yen Academy?" "You don't know." Si Yang widened his eyes. "I heard that Country Xing Luo's #1 beauty and Country Xing Luo's eldest princess, Situ Xingqian, is among the students from Tai Yen Academy today." As he spoke, he turned back to look and raised his hand to point. "There, that's the one. The prettiest girl standing at the front." Chu Luiwei followed his gaze and saw a beautiful and pure girl. She was very charming. Even though she was standing in the crowd, she could still attract everyone's attention. Si Yang looked at her for a while and couldn't help but turn around to look at Chu Luiwei and laugh strangely. "Hee, Luyu, everyone says that Country Xing Luo's eldest princess is devastatingly beautiful, but I think she's still lacking compared to you. If you dress up, you'll definitely be able to suppress her." Chu Luiwei glanced at him and wasn't interested in this at all. But the next moment, she suddenly turned around and looked at Situ Xingqian with narrowed eyes. Situ Xingqian's sleeves were embroidered with the same cloud pattern as Rong Xiu's. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 196. Patterns like cloud patterns were actually not rare. This was especially so for a member of the royal family. Given their esteemed status, it was not a big deal for their clothes to be embroidered with cloud patterns. However, the key point was that the cloud patterns on Rong Xiu's sleeves and the corners of his clothes were different from ordinary cloud patterns. Although they were called cloud patterns, in reality, the lines were blended and the patterns were layered. From a certain angle, it looked like blooming peach blossoms. When Chu Luiwei had first noticed it, she had asked Rong Xiu about it. At that time, Rong Xiu had said that he had drawn the pattern himself and had someone specially embroidered it for him. In this world, there was only one such family. However, she had not expected that such a cloud pattern would appear on another person's clothes. Even if Chu Luiwei wanted to treat it as a coincidence, she could not. That was because she had clearly seen that the pattern was exactly the same. She raised her eyebrows, retracted her gaze, and asked casually, seemingly unintentionally, she asked, "You seem to be quite familiar with this eldest princess? How is that possible? I've never been to Star Luo Nation. It's just that this Princess Royal's reputation is too great." Si Yang pursed his lips. "You've seen it for yourself. This appearance, this bearing, it's indeed a rare sight. Most importantly, her innate talent was also extremely outstanding. I heard that she is only 16 years old this year, but she has already broken through to become a third-grade doctor. She only needs to take one more step and she will become a real heavenly doctor. This is the only princess of Star Luo Nation, the most pampered pearl in the palm. In the past few years, her reputation has been growing, and countless people have fallen head over heels for her. However, this eldest princess doesn't seem to care about these things. So many people have asked to marry her, but all of them have been rejected. I really don't know what kind of person can win this beauty's heart in the end. Chu Luiyue looked around casually. Sure enough, she saw that many youths' eyes lit up when they saw Situ Xingqian. She thought about it and suppressed the strange feeling in the bottom of her heart. At this moment, Sun Zhongyan had already stepped forward to welcome them. Brother Cheng Han. The leader of the Super Yen Academy team was also an old man with white hair and a sage-like demeanor. When he saw Sun Zhongyan, a warm smile appeared on his face. Brother Zhongyan, long time no see. You look even more elegant than before. Ha! Brother Cheng Han, you're too kind. It must have been hard for you to come from afar. Please come in. Cheng Han waved his hand and had the people at the back go to their academy's seats, while he chatted a little more with Sun Zhongyan. Elder Yi is often elusive these few years. Now, even at this young elite's gathering, it's hard to want to see him. Martial uncle has always been like this. Brother Cheng Han, you know as well. Elder Yi is in closed seclusion so frequently. I presume that he's going to break through again? Ha, Martial uncle never mentioned this matter. It's hard for me to say either. Actually, the young elite's gathering these few years has been Brother Zhongyan Yu, in charge of the Sky Foothill Academy. Elder Yi is rather free and easy, simply becoming a hands-off boss. I presume that in the future. Sun Zhongyan interrupted his words with a smile. Brother Cheng Han, it's hard to say what will happen in the future. Everyone has already waited for a long time. Why don't we hurry up and start? Cheng Han was taken aback for a moment before chuckling. Good. I presume that the children are also itching to start. Finishing, only then did he walk to the Super Yen Academy's seat and sit down. Sun Zhongyan still had a smile on his face, but the depths of his eyes carried some iciness. Southwind Academy's Dean Fu Yunshan, as well as Super Yen Academy's Dean Cheng Han, were actually of the same generation as him, while Yi Zhiding was one generation higher than them. Fu Yunshan was nothing much, but this Cheng Han relied on his strength continuously breaking through these few years and became increasingly rampant. Earlier, he even dared to discuss Yi Zhiding in front of so many people, and even hinted that he, Sun Zhongyan, wanted to replace him. He clearly did not have any respect for their Sky Foothill Academy. Chu Luiyue narrowed his eyes as he watched from below. These people from Super Yen Academy seemed to be very ostentatious. Of course. Last year, their academy obtained the best results. Naturally, they are very arrogant and haughty. That Cheng Han is their dean, and I heard that he had already broken through to become a level 5 heavenly doctor last year, and is on the same level as our dean, so his attitude towards old Sun is naturally lacking. Si Yang explained in a low voice. Chu Luiyue nodded in understanding. No wonder. Originally, Cheng Han and old Sun and the others were of the same generation, but now that he had the strength to compete with old Yi, he naturally did not care about old Sun and the others. He looked amiable on the surface, but in reality his words and actions revealed a sense of arrogance. From the looks of it, he seemed to want to have a spar with old Yi. This Cheng Han is also Situ Xingqian's master. I heard that Situ Xingqian had just entered Super Yen Academy this year, but was highly regarded. Now, she is one of the top geniuses in their academy. I heard that even her senior brothers and senior sisters might not be a match for her. I'm afraid that this time, she is not here for the title of first place. The competition of the youths was not divided into different categories. All the students were divided into 3 categories based on heavenly doctors, Xian masters, and martial artists. In other words, as long as one was a martial artist, one could participate in the martial artist competition. Their opponents could be the same batch of students from the opposing academy, or students from other batches. In this competition, the new students were at a disadvantage. However, being able to gain some battle experience was more beneficial than detrimental to them. Therefore, even if they knew that it was difficult to get a good name, the new students were eager to try. After Si Yang finished speaking, he looked at Chu Liyue's indifferent expression and could not help but ask, "Why aren't you shocked at all? What's there to be shocked about?" Chu Liyue's eyes widened slightly. She is a new student, but she already has the strength to match up to her senior brothers and senior sisters. Chu Liyue could not help but laugh. The cultivation of heavenly doctors is unique. What kind of strength one could possess was mainly determined by one's talent and nothing else. Moreover, those senior brothers and senior sisters in the academy are only 1 or 2 years older than her. An extra 4 or 5 years is not a huge advantage for the cultivation of heavenly doctors. Really? Si Yang was skeptical. How do you know so much about it? Chu Liyue glanced at him. Si Yang suddenly remembered that this person in front of him had also passed all 3 examinations back then. In that case, it was normal for Chu Liyue to have some understanding of heavenly doctors. However, he heard that her talent in heavenly doctors was not very high, so she chose to be a mystic teacher in the end. "Sai, who cares? We're not participating in the heavenly doctors competition anyway, so there's no point in caring so much. Let me tell you about some of the more powerful mystic teachers." On the other side, after Sidu Xingxian took her seat, she quickly scanned the surroundings. However, she did not see the person she wanted to see. Her heart, which had been beating wildly, gradually calmed down. She retracted her gaze in disappointment and sighed softly. It made sense. He would definitely not come to such an occasion. He probably had no interest in this youngsters' gathering. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 197. Xingxian, what are you looking at? Cheng Han couldn't help but ask when he saw Situ Xingxian sizing up her surroundings. "HM? Oh, nothing. It's my first time at the Qin Jiao competition, so I'm a little curious." Situ Xingxian quickly hid the disappointment in her eyes and smiled at Cheng Han. Cheng Han didn't suspect anything and laughed out loud. "It's normal to be curious. When the competition starts, you'll naturally know what's going on. This time, I have high hopes for you. Don't worry, Master. I'll definitely do my best. You have top-notch talent, so I'm naturally not worried." Cheng Han was very confident, as if he had already predicted that Situ Xingxian would obtain the best results in the end. Situ Xingxian smiled and nodded as she suppressed her thoughts. Sun Zhongyan stood in the square and cupped his hands at the crowd. "I'm Sun Zhongyan, Tianlu Academy's elder. I'm in charge of the Qin Jiao competition today. The competition order will be the same as before: Warrior, Xian Master, and Celestial Physician." His deep and powerful voice instantly reverberated in the square, causing the originally heated discussions to subconsciously quieten down as they looked at him seriously. The competition rules will be the same as before. The 3 academies will challenge each other. Everyone, please take a look at the 3 boxes placed in front of the 3 academies' respective areas. The words Celestial Physician, Xian Master, and Warrior are written on the 3 boxes. The names of the students participating in the competition are in each box. However, to be fair, the names in each box aren't the names of the students from the respective academies. He pointed at Tianlu Academy. Tianlu Academy's box contains the names of Tai Yen Academy's students. The students participating in the competition will randomly pick a name, and the person they pick will be the competition's opponent. The crowd was in an uproar. Isn't this the same as letting Tianlu Academy's students challenge Tai Yen Academy's students? Sun Zhongyan lowered his hands and waited for the crowd to quieten down before continuing. Similarly, Tai Yen Academy's box contains the names of Nanfeng Academy's students. The box before Nanfeng Academy's is naturally Tianlu Academy's. The crowd discussed fervently. No matter what, this method sounded very fair. The loser's name will be taken out of the box, and the winner's name will be placed back into the box. The competition will continue until the final ranking is decided. Chu Liyue's with his arms crossed. If that's the case, wouldn't the person who won the competition be drawn a second time, a third time, or even more? The closer it was to the end, the more it was a messy competition. It wouldn't be easy to get first place. Si Yang. That's right. That's the competition's orders at is it, who's at it if, the, est how many times use. 1. S is at, us, he's at, est yang at, s. Actually, this competition isn't that serious. There was a fixed amount of time for each day's matches. Generally speaking, a person would only have one match a day. Even if they won and got picked, they would still have time to recover. Of course, that's only if you're not seriously injured. If you're really beaten to a pulp, you might have to withdraw from the competition. The Qing Jiao competition has always been fair. Killing is not allowed. You can rest assured about that. When Chu Liyue heard this, she did not comment. Killing was not allowed, but there were countless ways to make one's life a living hell. The Qing Jiao competition affected the reputation of the various academies and even the country. How could it be so easy? While the two of them were talking, Sun Zhongyan had already walked to Nanfeng Academy's area and stood in front of the martial artist box. I'll personally pick the first person to fight in the first round. Then he put his hand into the box. Everyone's attention was focused on him. The martial artist students from Tianlu Academy and Taiyan Academy held their breaths as they waited. Please don't pick me. Please don't pick me. Please. Please don't pick me. For the first round, I think it's better for me to pick someone stronger. Before Sun Zhongyan could pick a name, Chu Liyue heard all sorts of soft prayers behind her. She could not help but turn around to take a look. As expected, she saw many people's faces saying, "Please don't pick me." She thought about it for a moment and quickly came to a realization. The meaning of the first round was very different. If she could win beautifully, it would be a great honor for herself and the academy, and it would boost everyone's morale. However, if she lost, she would definitely be criticized. Therefore, the pressure naturally increased exponentially. The older students who were stronger were fine, but most of the new students were uneasy and worried. Over at Taiyan Academy's side, the crowd stared closely at Sun Zhongyan's actions. I heard that the strongest person in their academy is country Yao Chen's crown prince, Rong Jin. He's indeed here today. It's fine as long as it's not him. How can it be so coincidental? There are more than 100 people from their academy participating in the warrior competition. How can Rong Jin be the first to be picked? So what if he's picked? We have strong people too. If it doesn't work out, we can slowly deplete their strongest person's strength. Isn't that great? That makes sense, huh? Sun Zhongyan finally took his hand out of the box. He was holding a ball of paper in his hand. The crowd quietened down and stared at the ball of paper. Everyone knew that the name of the person who was going to compete in the first round was written on the ball of paper. At that moment, the crowd fell silent, and the atmosphere in the entire square became tense. Sun Zhongyan slowly opened the ball of paper. When he saw the name on it, his expression changed slightly. How can it be? Many people saw the slight change in his expression, and all sorts of guesses flashed across their minds. Who exactly is this person? For the first round of the Qing Jiao competition's warrior competition, Tianlu Academy's representative, Sun Zhongyan paused and looked in a certain direction with a complicated gaze. Chu Liyue. Digression. At 12 o'clock p.m., there are still 2 chapters left. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.